Chapter 687. The Six-Winged Golden Silkworm Advances, Whatever Father Likes. The myriad beasts' mountain range was vast and boundless, extending as far as the eye could see. In the depths of the mountains, territories were divided and occupied by one demon king after another. There was an inscrutable, malevolent water pool among them. Called a pool, it actually resembled a bottomless abyss more, shrouded in darkness, with depths unfathomable. At some point, a two-headed serpent had emerged in the malevolent water pool. Since then, the pool had come to be known as the Poison Dragon Pool. At this very moment, Lord Poison Dragon, a middle-aged man in a black brocade robe, stood before the unfathomable depths of the Poison Dragon Pool and took out a greenish-blue water orb, bowing respectfully as he spoke. Splash! The abyssal waters churned and splashed, and two hideous heads, each several meters long, emerged from the surface. Its massive body was covered in dark green scales. Half submerged in the water, it radiated a terrifyingly oppressive aura. Two lantern-sized green eyes stared at the man in the black robe, and a grating, hoarse voice said, "Human, you did well. This is your reward." As it spoke, a gigantic corpse over 5 meters tall was thrown out. It was the body of a humanoid, its muscles twisted like those of a dragon. However, the creature had the head of a bull with pitch-black horns on its head, and its legs resembled those of a bull, emanating a thick aura. The Kangmang bull. Xiahou Wuo's eyes gleamed with a crimson light when he saw the corpse, showing a hint of surprise and delight. He quickly bowed deeply to the two-headed serpent and said, "Thank you, my lord, for this gracious gift. Human, as long as you continue to do well, this king will not skimp on your rewards." The two-headed serpent's eyes flickered with a dim green light as it spoke in its grating, hoarse voice, which was as unsettling as metal clashing. "Yes, my lord, just give your orders." Xiahou said so. "The next step, this king will notify you." The two-headed serpent spoke. Afterward, its enormous body sank back into the water. "With the corpse of the third-rank Kangmang bull demon, I can craft the dark demon corpse. Qingyun's sect, there will come a day when I will make you pay for your debts in blood." Xiahou Wu looked at the corpse before him, his eyes brimming with hatred. By Lake Mountain, Puppet Workshop. "Father, this war puppet number 1 has been modified according to your requirements. The arms are engraved with mighty glyphs, capable of exerting up to 3,000 Jin of force, the legs have speed and gravity glyphs for stability while ensuring speed, and the internal spiritual power converges to support 3 major talisman formations. It can be equipped with blades, spears, bows and arrows, or shields as you mentioned, with just simple tweaks required, and customers can also purchase accessories to install or remove themselves." Lu Xinji looked at the humanoid metal puppet before him as he reported to Lu Changxing. Half a year earlier, after mastering the basics of flying eagle, beast, and humanoid puppets, Lu Changxing had him start creating 3 new types of puppets. War puppet number 1, beast puppet number 1, flying bird number 1. These were the 3 puppets that Lu Changxing planned to introduce to the marketplace. However, these 3 types of puppets were all middle grade, first grade, and with a certain technical content, mass production was no small challenge. During this period, Lu Changxing also made several optimizations and adjustments based on practical situations. Especially War Puppet number 1. This puppet was designed for both offense and defense, suitable for close combat and long-range attacks, making its production quite complex. Much time was consumed just to achieve mass production. Let me see. Lu Changxing inspected the puppet before him, then opened the heart-protecting mirror to check the internal inscriptions. The inscriptions, clearly crafted by the hands of golden-armored bean soldiers, were impeccable. Subsequently, he used the relevant puppet control technique to manage the puppet's spiritual joints, testing its commands. Advancing, retreating, leaping, flipping. After a brief demonstration, Lu Changxing had the metal puppet punch him, and then struck the puppet with a punch of his own. The puppet staggered backward, its chest indented with a punch imprint. However, after stabilizing, it was still capable of movement. Following a series of tests, the metal puppet was dented and banged up, a pitiable sight, but Lu Changxing's face showed a satisfied smile. He turned to Lu Xianxia and nodded. If we can mass-produce war puppet number 1 now, how long will it take to produce a unit, and what is the profit margin? Father, the workshop is currently divided into 3 production lines. If we produce war puppets at full capacity, we can make 1 every 10 days. Considering the cost of materials, labor, and overhead, it comes to roughly 180 spirit stones. In the current market, the price of middle-grade puppets range from 240 to 300 spirit stones. If our family wants to make a market impact, initially we can only offer low prices. Besides, if you intend to supply externally instead of managing the business ourselves, our prices can probably only reach 200 spirit stones, Lu Xianxia reported respectfully. Such low profit margins. This hardly compares to a sweatshop. Lu Changsheng frowned slightly upon hearing this. He had always known that puppet production was akin to a sweatshop, operating on tight profit margins, but these profits seemed too low in his view. Considering the time he spent instructing Lu Xianxia and others daily in the workshop, not mentioning the profits he would have made from alchemy and talisman making. Father, as we increase the workforce and gain proficiency, this cost can continue to decrease. Moreover, regarding material procurement, we primarily use Xuanwu steel. If we start mass production and make bulk purchases, we can reduce the price by 10 to 30%. Plus, once our family's puppets gain a reputation and sales increase, we can raise the prices. However, I think that since we have shops, we could start with opening one in Red Leaf Valley Market to build our reputation and customer base. Chapter 688. The Six-Winged Golden Silkworm Advances. Father may do as he pleases. Lu Xianxia saw his own father in deep thought and roughly understood his father's ideas, breaking the silence and saying, in his view, a profit of 20 spirit stones for a puppet was already quite satisfactory. Currently, the workshop's 3 production lines could produce about 8 to 10 puppets a month. That amounted to about 1 to 200 spirit stones, and over a year, that would be more than 2,000 spirit stones. Moreover, this income could gradually increase. All right, let's proceed with your idea in this matter, Lu Changsheng said with a light chuckle upon hearing this. He also understood that these matters should not be measured by his own standards of consumption. An annual yield of 2,000 spirit stones was already very decent for a foundation establishment family, especially since the puppet workshop was still in its initial stages. Once the reputation and credibility were established, the income would naturally increase. He patted his son on the shoulder and said, if you have any problems, go discuss them with your aunts, Pingan and Chuanjin. As for opening a puppet store in the Red Leaf Marketplace, that's fine too. You can choose 2 knowledgeable apprentices to manage it, Lu Changsheng said as such. After finishing his words, he added, right, Xianxia, remember to brand all the puppets with the name Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Puppets are inherently replicable. These 3 puppets were designed based on the current market for puppets in the cultivation world. If puppet masters from other families see that our puppets are good, they might replicate and produce them. Therefore, it was time to consider the effect of branding. Just like the red blood carp from Blue Lake Mountain, the paper talismans from Qingzhou Mountain, the centipede wine from Wugong Ridge, and the spiritual birds from Hundred Birds Lake, they all had a certain level of reputation. Yes, father. Upon hearing these words, Lu Xianxi's face immediately showed joy, and he responded with a bow. He knew that with his 9th grade spiritual root, his talent was not great and he had no hope of a significant achievement in life, let alone reaching foundation establishment. Therefore, he spent most of his time and effort on puppets, hoping to achieve something in other areas. In the past 2 years, he focused entirely on the workshop, aiming to turn a profit as soon as possible. Now, with Lu Changsheng finally agreeing to mass-produce puppets and enter the market, his excitement was beyond measure. After inspecting the puppet workshop, Lu Changsheng went to check on his family's talisman workshop and wine brewing workshop. There were no changes in the talisman workshop. Earning 200 to 300 spirit stones a year by subcontracting for Qingzhou Mountain, it was merely for amusement. The wine brewing workshop, however, was doing quite well. It could steadily produce white jade wine and spiritual mulberry wine, and was starting to make a profit gradually. After the by-water rice harvest, Lu Changxing had also spent some time using it as the main ingredient to create a wine called Blue Lake wine. It had the effect of nourishing the body and enhancing water-based cultivation techniques. However, the effects were not satisfactory when mass-produced by the workshop. And since the supply of by-water rice was limited in their family, Lu Changxing dismissed the idea of mass production. Having spent a lot of time on research, Lu Changxing used red blood carp as the main ingredient to create blue carp wine, which he was currently ready to put on the market to see how it would fare. Just then, Lu Changxing felt a restless aura coming from his spiritual pet bag. With a slight sense, joy immediately showed in his eyes. He quickly excused himself to his son, Lu Chuanjin, and his nephew, Hong Xuanji, and turned into a streak of light returning to Changxing Hall. Arriving at his cave abode, Lu Changxing opened the spiritual pet bag. A 2-inch-long, thin-winged golden silkworm made its appearance. It was bathed in golden light, emanating a brutal and bloodthirsty aura. Looking at the 6-winged golden silkworm in front of him, he took out 2 gourds from his storage bag. Both were filled with spiritual blood. He took out a white jade bowl and poured out the spiritual blood into it. Then he said to the 6-winged golden silkworm, "Begin." 14 years had passed, and the 6-winged golden silkworm was finally ready to advance from the larval stage to the adolescent stage under his care. From 1st grade to 2nd grade. Although it was still far from maturing and developing a second pair of wings, Lu Changxing felt it was already quite an achievement. After all, this was the first 2nd grade spiritual pet he was raising by himself. Just like his first pet beast, the 9 netherhound, which was still in the late stages of the 1st grade. Upon hearing Lu Changxing's words, the 6-winged golden silkworm quickly began devouring the spiritual blood within the white jade bowl. Boom! Simultaneously, a brutal and ferocious aura surged through the body of the 6-winged golden silkworm as it absorbed nature's spiritual energy. However, the ascension of creatures from the demon race typically relies on their physical bodies and bloodlines, which means they do not have a significant need for nature's spiritual energy. Watching the 6-winged golden silkworm swiftly finish off the spiritual blood in the jade bowl, Lu Changxing wasn't stingy, continuing to pour out the spiritual blood from the gourd to let it feed to its fill. In this way, time slowly passed. An hour later, the aura of the 6-winged golden silkworm suddenly surged, its body shining with a splendid golden light. Lu Changxing calmly watched as the 6-winged golden silkworm continued to devour spiritual blood, so he kept pouring from the gourd. It was fortunate he considered it a hassle and had directly purchased 6 gourds of demon beast blood in the past. Otherwise, he would have been unprepared for the 6-winged golden silkworm's sudden promotion. As the aura of the 6-winged golden silkworm continued to surge, a golden cocoon gradually formed around it, encasing the creature within. Is it going to molt inside the cocoon? Lu Changxing looked at the fist-sized, blood-tinged golden cocoon before him and raised an eyebrow in curiosity. He didn't disturb the cocoon but made sure there was plenty of spiritual blood nearby, in case the 6-winged golden silkworm needed more. Sigh, I was so preoccupied with rescuing Xiao Chan and Nangong Meili that I completely forgot about the 6-winged golden silkworm situation. Chapter 689. The 6-winged golden silkworm advances. Father may do as he pleases. Lu Changxing thought of Meng Xiaochan, whom he encountered on his way back from Jiuxiao Immortal City. But at that time, all he remembered was to save people and he forgot to ask about the 6-winged golden silkworm. If the other party knew about the 6-winged golden silkworm, or through understanding of insect goo they could give him some advice, it might be beneficial to the growth of the 6-winged golden silkworm. As he thought of Meng Xiaochan, Lu Changxing also thought of Nangong Meili and his daughter Nangong Yaoyao. He didn't know what situation his daughter was in now, nor how her life was. This daughter had grown up in the demon sect since childhood. Would she develop some kind of demonic woman's character? Considering Nangong Meili and Meng Xiaochan, Lu Changxing thought that this possibility was quite significant. Sigh. Lu Changxing, thinking about his daughter turning into a demoness like those from the demon sect, felt quite troubled. He glanced at the 6-winged golden silkworm and walked out of his cave abode. Through helping Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia with their cultivation, he dispersed the worries in his heart. 1 month later, inside Changsheng Hall, his cave abode. Condense. Lu Changsheng activated the 100 Refinements treasure body art, with golden light flowing in his palm. Under the condensation of mana, the 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda lock began to gradually assimilate with his palm. It took 3 days for the genuine magical treasure to merge into the bones of Lu Changsheng's hand, causing a chain pattern with a shadow of a ghostly horse to appear on the back of his hand. Not bad, the demonic path magical treasure is fairly decent too, it doesn't have too much of an impact. After Lu Changsheng finished condensing the 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda lock, he moved his palm slightly and gave a slight nod. He knew that the main purpose of the 100 Refinements treasure body art was to extract the origin source of magical treasures, and it wouldn't affect the effectiveness of the treasures. Unless he used the Baogu method to cultivate his treasure bones with the magic treasures. However, now having so many methods at his disposal, Lu Changsheng didn't plan to waste the origin source of the magical treasure to nourish his treasure bones, which was a life-saving method. Glancing at the 6-winged golden silkworm still in its cocoon, Lu Changsheng walked out of Changsheng Hall and went to the Lu family mansion. Husband. Chu Zhenjin had just seen Lu Changsheng and immediately called out to him with a look of grievance. Zhenjin, what's wrong? Seeing his petite wife's expression, Lu Changsheng immediately asked with concern. Chu Zhenjin was normally naive and lively, taking nothing to heart, always carefree and cheerful. Suddenly seeing her like this, Lu Changsheng thought something might have happened. Husband, you tell Lu Chuanjin. Chu Zhenjin complained to Lu Changsheng, saying that their son Lu Chuanjin wasn't listening to her at all. She saw that Lu Yun had already taken concubines and Lu Miaoyun was arranging a marriage for their son. Naturally, she started caring about her own son's affairs as well. After all, Lu Chuanjin was a year older than Lu Yun. When she approached Lu Chuanjin about this matter, at first he agreed just fine. But after so much time has passed without any progress, he subsequently rejected all her arrangements and is now avoiding her, which made her feel very wronged. Cough cough. Cultivators generally marry quite late, plus Chuanjin is not that old. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng said so. He knew his son Lu Quanzhen's personality. Lu Chuanjin had his opinions and goals, took his cultivation very seriously, and completely lacked the idea of marrying. Thus, as a father, he usually wouldn't push for marriage. But getting married doesn't affect cultivation, does it? Miaoyun said whatever Xiao Yun would listen to, but Chuanjin won't listen to me at all now, and is even avoiding me. Chu Zhenjin said feeling very wronged. Cough cough, don't be upset, I'll talk to Chuanjin later and ask about his thoughts. Lu Changsheng didn't quite know what to say in that moment. Compared to Lu Chuanjin, his son Lu Yun was somewhat less decisive and listened to Lu Miaoyun's words a lot. This was also the difference between Lu Miaoyun and Chu Zhenjin's personalities. Lu Miaoyun was quite strict with the children on a daily basis. However, even after so many years, Chu Zhenjin still acted a bit like a child who hadn't grown up. Compared to Lu Chuanjin, she seemed more childlike. Furthermore, Lu Changsheng strongly suspected that when Chu Zhenjin said Lu Chuanjin had agreed, it was likely because she nagged him until he could only reluctantly consent. After all, this son, when experiencing the secular world before, always reported the good and not the bad. Fearing that Chu Zhenjin would learn of any minor harm he suffered, he didn't want to be nagged by her endlessly. Chu Zhenjin, hearing this, immediately nodded happily. Although her son was rebellious and disobedient, she still trusted Lu Changsheng's words a lot. Plus she knew, her son always listened to his father's words. Then she also brought up their daughter Lu Yuzhen. This daughter was not young either, and could also consider marriage affairs. Yuzhen is just in Hushan town, let's go see her later, and ask for her own thoughts. Lu Changsheng said kindly. After chatting with his wife Chu Zhenjin for a while, Lu Changsheng also took the opportunity to care about their son Lu Pingan's progress with the 100 Refinements treasure body art. Seeing that his cultivation was still at the introductory stage, Lu Changsheng gave some guidance before telling him to continue cultivating seriously. Thinking of encouraging his son, He took out the black dragon magical bead and handed it to Lu Pingon. He indicated that once the son was proficient with the technique, he could teach him to refine and incorporate the treasure into his body for cultivation. Dad, you are giving me this magical treasure. What about yourself, don't you need it? Lu Pingon, hearing about refining and integrating the magical treasure into his body, was shocked when Lu Changxing actually handed a magical treasure to him. Though he was just a qi refinement cultivator, he also understood the significance of a magical treasure. No matter, I can make do with something else. Lu Changxing, appearing gratified, waved his hand saying so. Thank you, father. Lu Pingon said with a face full of gratitude and a respectful tone. In his heart, he was resolved not to let his father down. In the blink of an eye, 10 days passed. That day, Lu Changxing received news. At Wugong Ridge, the elder ancestor of the Zheng family had passed away. Chapter 690. The Su family has a daughter, the Dragon Emperor body. Underscoon, the elder ancestor of the Zheng family has passed away in meditation? Lu Changxing was not surprised by this news. A few years ago, he had already discerned that the elder ancestor of the Zheng family was nearing his end. It was for this very reason that the elder ancestor of the Zheng family had been continuously arranging affairs for the family in these recent years. Whether it was offering a junior as a concubine or relinquishing profits from the Red Leaf Valley marketplace or becoming a vassal to the beast-taming Su family. But it must be said that over these years, the elder ancestor of the Zheng family indeed devoted himself wholeheartedly to the family. Even though the Zheng family currently has no foundation-building great cultivator in residence, no family dares to provoke Wugong Ridge in the short term. Yes, the elder ancestor of the Zheng family passed away peacefully in the family, which in the cultivation world is considered a joyful funeral. For this funeral, the Zheng family will prepare a grand ceremony, and they have indicated in their letter that the beast-taming Su family will also send representatives. Therefore, husband, if you have time, you should personally attend and offer your respects. Lu Miaoyun began, addressing Lu Changxing. Foundation establishment cultivators have a lifespan of 240 years. But to live to 200 and pass away peacefully in meditation is considered dying a natural death, known as a joyful funeral. Yuner, when is the funeral to be held? Lu Changxing nodded and asked. Knowing that the Zheng family had invited neighboring families and powers to this funeral was also the Zheng family's way of borrowing strength from the Su family to show their stance. In 23 days. Lu Miaoyun stated. All right, remind me again when the time comes. Lu Changxing nodded. He knew that for such matters, he, as the family head, must make the trip himself. Putting aside his own family's relationship with the Zheng family, just for the sake of the beast-taming Su family, he should also make the visit. After that, he informed his concubine Jing Yongwan about the matter, asking her to accompany him when the time came. 20 days later, Lu Changxing, accompanied by his concubine Jing Yongwan, arrived at Wugong Ridge. The name Wugong Ridge might not sound too pleasant, but the environment was quite nice, with clear mountains and beautiful waters. It was named Wugong Ridge because it was abundant with spiritual insects. Particularly, a type of spiritual insect known as the iron line centipede was used by the Zheng family to brew centipede wine, which was a very successful business. The elder ancestor of the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family has arrived. The Zheng family hosts at the mountain gate spotted Lu Changxing and immediately announced loudly. Subsequently, a Zheng family elder rushed over to invite Lu Changxing to the Zheng family estate. The place had already been arranged in the style of a mourning hall, where clusters of family juniors dressed in white mourning clothes. Husband, Jing Yongwan, upon viewing this scene, also showed a touch of sorrow and grief on her face. Although she had not spent much time with the Zheng family ancestor and did not have deep feelings, she was, after all, a legitimate descendant of the Zheng family and had grown up in Wugong Ridge under the protection of this elder ancestor. Grieve not. Lu Changxing patted her hand and accompanied her to the front of the coffin, twisted 3 incense sticks, and solemnly bowed. Lu ancestor, this way please. There are 2 days left before the funeral. Yong, you may show Lu ancestor around the house. The Zheng family elders spoke respectfully, arranging for Lu Changxing to rest. Normally, as a direct daughter of the family, someone like Jing Yongwan should have helped out a little. But as she was Lu Changxing's concubine, her status was established here, so it was impossible to have her do any such thing. An appropriate reception for Lu Changxing would suffice. As the day of the funeral approached, people began to arrive one after another. 2 days later, Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang also arrived at Wugong Ridge to attend the funeral. Uncle, he Daoist Bai. Lu Changxing saw the two men and greeted them with a cupped fist. Changxing, Lu Daoist. Lu Mountain Lord, long time no see. Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang greeted Lu Changxing. Besides the two, many other family powers arrived, and upon seeing Lu Changxing, they all greeted him. Soon after, Lu Changxing and people from these foundation establishment families arranged by the Zheng family took their seats in a large hall to chat casually. Elder ancestor of the Yu Shui Su family has arrived. At that moment, a loud announcing voice came from outside. Soon after, Patriarch Xing, accompanied by a tall, dignified man with hawk-like eyes dressed in a golden robe, walked into the hall. Following the man in the golden robe were two men and a woman. One of the women had a sorrowful countenance, while a man next to her had his arm around her shoulder, comforting her. Elder ancestor Su has been seen. Greetings to Daoist Su. Great-grandfather. Many in the hall stood up and greeted the man in the golden robe with cupped fists. Lu Changxing had perused the general information on the Yu Shui Su family. He knew that the man in the golden robe was named Su Renguang, one of the foundation establishment ancestors of the Yu Shui Su family. Su pays respects to all Daoist friends here. The golden-robed man showed a cheerful and straightforward smile, cupping his hands and addressing everyone. After elder ancestor Su took his seat, the funeral banquet also began. During the midst of the convivial conversation, Lu Changxing suddenly felt something and turned his head to look towards a woman sitting next to elder ancestor Su. This woman appeared to be around 20 years old, extremely beautiful. With soft, lustrous, fiery red hair and a beautifully ornate dress of red and gold, her figure was exquisitely curvaceous. Lu Changxing looked at the woman, clearly not because of her appearance or features. It was her divine sense, comparable to the peak of foundation establishment, that made him acutely aware that this woman had been observing him ever since she entered the hall. As if realizing that Lu Changxing had noticed her, the red-haired woman drifted her gaze away elegantly, picked up her chopsticks gracefully, and began to chew on a slice of meat slowly and daintily. Seeing this, Lu Changxing did not pay much mind. After all, it was quite normal for his charm to compel a woman to steal a few extra glances. However, he still noticed that the woman continued to sneak peeks at him. Just then, the red-haired woman whispered something to Su Renguang. The next thing he knew, Su Renguang approached Lu Changxing with a glass of wine, his face wearing a polite smile, and said, "Master Lu, my granddaughter is preparing to tame a heavenly fire mink and requires the use of a second-rank mystical frost talisman." Chapter 691. The Su family has a daughter, the Dragon Emperor body. I wonder if Master Lu can draw a talisman. If it's possible, I'd like to trouble Master Lu to do so. Su Renguang said politely. Heavenly fire mink, mystical frost talisman? Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing glanced at the redhead woman next to him. He knew that beast tamers subdue pet beasts mostly through various means to make them submit. Methods such as the blood covenant, contract documents, beast control tokens, and the like are all considered inferior. Could it be that she was looking at me earlier because of the talisman? Lu Changxing pondered to himself. Looking at Su Renguang, he showed a hint of regret and said, "Lu Daoist, regarding the mystical frost talisman, I have never drawn it before, and I am not very confident. The mystical frost talisman is a second-rank high-grade spirit talisman, which Lu Changxing could naturally draw with ease. However, he seldom drew such a spirit talisman, and those booking second-rank talismans from him were already scheduled into next year. Without the other party promising any benefits, they expect me to help draw talismans? I wonder how much confidence Master Lu has. If you can draw it, My Su family will certainly be very grateful. Su Renguang continued to say. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng glanced at the redhead woman again. He didn't expect that this person could actually make the elder ancestor of the Su family promise a handsome reward. It seemed that this redhead woman's status and identity within the Su family were quite extraordinary. After mulling it over for a moment, he said, "Well then, I shall try when I return. If there is any news, I will reply to Lu Daoist within 3 months. How about that?" Lu Changsheng said this. "In that case, thank you, Lu Daoist. I raise a glass to you, Lu Daoist." Su Renguang lifted his cup and expressed his thanks with a bow. Many people in the grand hall saw this scene and revealed a touch of envy in their eyes. They envied the Su family for being able to easily request Lu Changsheng to help draw talismans and envied Lu Changsheng for his identity as a second-rank high-grade talisman master. Lu Daoist is too polite. Lu Changsheng lifted his cup and said. After he had eaten and drunk his fill, Lu Changsheng also learned about the identity of the redhead woman, the granddaughter of the elder ancestor of the Su family, Su Ruyin. Not only did she possess a 4th-grade spiritual root, but she also had an excellent talent for beast taming. Having just broken through to the energy refinement late stage, she tamed an Earth-grade bloodline monster beast, the fire python tiger. She could be said to be the current gem in the palm of Yu Shui's Su family. Moreover, when Bai Yunyang mentioned this gem of the Su family, he also told an interesting story. After Su Ruyin tamed the fire python tiger, people from the main beast-taming Su family came wanting to take her back to the main family to cultivate. But Su Ruyin's father, Su Renguang's son, had once been crippled by a direct descendant in the family competition who took away his spiritual pets. Thus Su Ruyin refused to go back to the main family to cultivate. Furthermore, she declared her intention to seek justice for her father in the future. The Su family and others were arranged by the Zheng family in a quiet courtyard. Inside the courtyard's building, Hong Lian Sr., can you confirm it? Su Ruyin asked inwardly. You are not wrong in your perception. This person indeed has the aura of a heavenly rank bloodline demon beast. Clearly, he has been in contact with heavenly rank demon beasts for a long time. Moreover, this aura is somewhat mixed. This palace suspects he has more than one heavenly rank bloodline demon beast. An ethereal, elegant, and gentle voice, like music from the heavens, rang out in Su Ruyin's mind. More than one? Su Ruyin showed a look of surprise in her beautiful eyes upon hearing this. She was well aware of the preciousness of heavenly grade bloodline spiritual beasts. Not to mention her Yu Shui Su family. Even the main family, beast-taming Su family, would find it extremely difficult to acquire a heavenly grade bloodline spiritual beast. And now, a mere foundation establishment family actually had multiple heavenly rank demon beasts. If I could contract a heavenly rank demon beast, then the beast technique could advance further, evolving into an orthodox level cultivation technique, forming the beastly Dao foundation. Su Ruyin's beautiful eyes shone with hope and desire. Her family was happy and complete when she was young. But when she was 7 years old and accompanying her father to visit the main beast-taming Su family for the family competition, she saw her own father being defeated by a direct descendant of the family, and even his spiritual pets were taken away. That battle also left her father crippled, dejected, and nearly reduced to a wastrel with no hope of foundation establishment. From that moment on, her heart harbored an additional goal: to seek justice for her father righteously in the family competition. Now, with supreme opportunity within her, she could see the hope of avenging her father. She inquired respectfully, "Senior Hong Lian, do you have any way?" The cultivation technique she practiced was called beast technique. This technique was highly esoteric, enabling her to enhance the power of her technique by the grade of contracted spiritual beasts. Moreover, it also allowed her to improve her own talents, foundation, and potential through contracting spiritual beasts. This person is not simple. I perceive a terrifying aura coming from him. He must have great fortune and secrets. The ethereal voice like the music of the heavens continued. Su Ruyin was shocked upon hearing this. She knew the prowess of Senior Hong Lian. This Lu Changxing actually made Senior Hong Lien feel a terrifying aura. Senior Hong Lien, I have heard some rumors about this person. Su Ruyin immediately recounted some information about Lu Changxing. Lower-grade spiritual root, son-in-law living off his wife's family, many wives and concubines, numerous offspring, a master of the talisman path, and such rapid cultivation speed. Could it be the legendary Dragon Emperor body? The ethereal voice conveyed a hint of surprise and curiosity. Dragon Emperor body? Senior Hong Lien, what kind of spiritual body is that? I've never heard of it. Su Ruyin asked. I have also heard of this body. In the central state Great Qian dynasty, there was a saint king who had 108 heavenly consorts and 3,000 beauties in his harem. It is said that this saint king's constitution was known as the Dragon Emperor body. Not only was dual cultivation with men and women harmless to him, but it also allowed his thoughts to become clear, his cultivation to progress swiftly, with no bottlenecks to hinder him, and this constitution was most conducive to having children. His offspring were also more likely to be extraordinarily talented. Chapter 692. The Su family has a daughter, the Dragon Emperor body. The ethereal voice spoke in such a manner. There is actually such a physique in the world. Su Ruyin, upon hearing these words, also showed a look of surprise and doubt. Although she did not know much about spiritual bodies, she had heard and understood common physiques, including the 5-element spiritual body. She had never heard of such a mysterious spiritual body before. After all, most cultivators practice abstinence as part of their cultivation regimen. Only a small number of heretic cultivators or those who practice dual cultivation, by harvesting others' essence, would choose to indulge in desires. But such individuals would eventually have their foundations weakened by excessive dual cultivation and harvesting, and at a certain realm, they would find it difficult to make any progress. This palace has only heard of such matters and is speculating as such. However, if this child is as you say, he must surely be a person with great fortune, said the voice. Such characters have many tricks up their sleeves. If you are trying to get a heaven-rank demon beast from him, I'm afraid it will be extremely difficult, the ethereal voice said. Su Ruyin heard this and fell silent, her beautiful eyes deep in thought. The Zheng family's funeral lasted for 3 days. During this period, many matters were handled by the elder ancestor of the Su family. This was also a way for the Su family to show their stance to the outside world. The Zheng family was under the protection of the Yushui Su family. Although this Su family was not the beast-taming Su family, it was still strong enough to make many other forces weigh their decisions carefully. Lu Daoist, my granddaughter will be staying at Wugong Ridge for a while, said Su Ringguang to Lu Changxing politely. If you manage to inscribe the mystical frost talisman, just send someone to inform us at Wugong Ridge, he said. Lu Changxing, hearing this, glanced at Su Ruyin next to him, who had a delicate face, fiery red long hair, and a graceful figure, and nodded with a smile. Because of Jing Yongwan, he had attended many ceremonies of the Zheng family's funeral over these 3 days. During that time, he keenly noticed that Su Ruyin looked at him from time to time. This kind of looking was different from the scrutiny in the Great Hall at the beginning. It contained a few indescribable meanings. This made Lu Changxing feel that there was something off about Su Ruyin. It wasn't because he was so charming that she looked at him from time to time. Although he didn't know what was going on with her, Lu Changxing became extra cautious and wary of Su Ruyin in his heart. As the funeral of the Zheng family came to an end, Lu Changxing also took Jing Yongwan back to Bai Lake Mountain. Just after returning to Bai Lake Mountain, Lu Changxing received some news. The dragon carp in Bai Shui Lake had emerged, and it was caught by his daughter, Lu Wangshu. At this, Lu Changxing looked at the system interface to see that his daughter Lu Wangshu already had 41% fishing talent, leaving him somewhat at a loss for words. He could only hope that his daughter would also have this much interest in the talisman path in the future. Lu Changxing looked at the dragon carp. It was currently the size of a forearm, with its entire body covered in scales emanating a golden luster, appearing quite extraordinary. Seeing this dragon carp, Lu Changxing very much wanted to refine it into a blackwater dragon fish Dao soldier. But remembering his promise to his wife and children, that the first dragon carp caught would be cooked at home, he considered that the dragon carp was still too small, enough for perhaps a 3-person family meal at best. So, Lu Changxing decided to keep the dragon carp in the fish farm, planning to raise it for a few years. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Congratulations to the host for the birth of a spiritual root descendant. You have earned 1 lottery opportunity. That day, a system notification sounded, accompanied by a faint tremor. This seems to be the 39th, isn't it? 39, and only the first child with a spiritual root? And this spiritual root fluctuation, it should also just be a lower-grade spiritual root. Upon hearing this system prompt, Lu Changsheng's brows furrowed slightly. He felt that the chance for his 3rd generation to have a spiritual root was too low. However, thinking of his own children who were giving birth, none of whom had a spiritual root, his heart felt slightly relieved. Under the circumstances where neither parent had a spiritual root, having a spiritual root in the 39th child was already considered a decent probability. Perhaps it was thanks to the spirit rice that his children ate regularly, constantly nourished by spiritual energy. System, draw a prize. Without overthinking it, Lu Changsheng opened the system to begin the draw. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a 4th-rank elixir medicine, Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir. The reward has been issued to System Space. The host can check it at any time. An elixir icon emerged from the big wheel, accompanied by a system notification tone. Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir? When Lu Changsheng saw the prize he drew, his eyebrows raised. This was an elixir he had never heard of before. With a slight stirring of his mental spirit, he looked toward the system space for the effects of this elixir. Elixir, Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir. Quality, 4th rank. Description: as long as a cultivator's soul has not dissipated, upon taking this elixir, one can regenerate flesh from bones and fuse the soul back to life. 4th rank elixir. When Lu Changxing saw the grade and effect of this elixir, he couldn't help but inhale sharply. Most of the rewards he had obtained so far were of the 3rd rank. It was only the life-substituting talisman he drew earlier, with good luck, that he had obtained a 4th rank reward. He didn't expect to draw another 4th rank elixir today. And certainly, the effects of this elixir were extraordinary. After a cultivator dies, the soul can still exist for a period of time. Thus, high-rank cultivators, when killing, aim to destroy both the body and soul to ensure there are no future troubles. Especially in the demon path, after killing someone, they capture the victim's soul for cultivating techniques or for refining magic artifacts. And with this elixir, even if a person is dead, as long as their soul hasn't been completely annihilated, taking the elixir would allow them to regenerate from their bones and come back to life. This effect is simply terrifying. It can be said to be a truly life-saving miracle medicine. However, being ranked as a 4th rank elixir makes it seem somewhat redundant. In battles between nascent soul immortals, one has to strike down the opponent until both body and soul are dispersed, and a nascent soul true lord wouldn't possibly allow someone. I've heard that a nascent soul true lord not only has a lifespan of over 1,000 years but also possesses all sorts of inconceivable methods. One such method is known as body seizure reincarnation. The books say that all the mana and divine skills of a nascent soul true lord are contained within the nascent soul itself, and even if their body is completely destroyed and their soul shattered, as long as the nascent soul survives, they can seize another body and be reborn. And nascent soul true lords have mastery over the power of the void, their nascent souls capable of escaping into it, with no restrictions or techniques able to hold them back, possessing an extremely strong ability to preserve their own lives. Lu Changxing muttered to himself. Knowledge about the nascent soul mainly came from his usual reading. On the other hand, it was through the cultivation techniques he obtained from the system draws, knowing a thing or two from their descriptions. Nevertheless, as precious and powerful as it is, it's somewhat redundant for me at the moment. Lu Changxing looked at the Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir, sighed deeply, and simply placed the elixir in the system space to collect dust, planning to take it out only when there was a need for it. Chapter 693, The Demonic Seven Sects, Sending a Clock to the Four Great Families. _1 This day, Lu Changsheng learned of the news about Azure Phoenix Immortal City through Xianxia. They too faced a surge of demon beasts, and even 3 heaven-rank demon kings attacked Azure Phoenix Immortal City. This battle nearly resulted in the city being breached. However, the most reclusive loose cultivator of Jiang country, the Azure Phoenix Immortal, re-emerged into public view after many years of silence. With a 3rd-rank Qing Wan, 500 Qing Wan Dao soldiers in tow, she ferociously battled the 3 great heaven-rank demon animals. After months of intense fighting, the Azure Phoenix Immortal finally killed the Ironback Kuei Bear and severely wounded the Diamond Ape King, bringing an end to the Beast Tide. The message indicates that if the Beast Tide hadn't been so severe, nearly breaching Azure Phoenix Immortal City, with the strength of the Azure Phoenix Immortal and riding the wave of victory with 500 Qing Wan Dao soldiers, there was even a hope to kill the Diamond Ape King. Xianxia spoke out, saying thus. Even she was astonished upon receiving this news. For the bloodline grade of demon beasts determines the upper limit of their strength. Like a 3rd-rank demon king with a heavenly grade bloodline, whose strength corresponds to a nascent soul cultivator with a superior gold core. Each one possesses frightening combat power. Yet the Azure Phoenix Immortal fought 3 alone, managing to slay one and severely wound another. It was nothing short of astounding. 3 heaven-rank demon kings almost breached Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng drew a deep breath, understanding how fierce and perilous the battle was. He looked at Xianxia and continued to ask, Xiyu, the strength of this Azure Phoenix Immortal must not be far from making a breakthrough to nascent soul, right? I'm not sure about that. There are rumors that the Azure Phoenix Immortal has been in closed-door cultivation these years, preparing for the assault on nascent soul. There are also rumors that years ago, the Azure Phoenix Immortal delved deep into the Myriad Beasts mountain range and suffered severe injuries, spending these years to recuperate. However, judging from the strength she displayed now, it's estimated she's not far from a breakthrough to nascent soul. Xianxia said in a low voice. If this Azure Phoenix Immortal breaks through to nascent soul, I fear the entire situation in Jiang country will undergo change, Lu Changsheng said with some emotion. In the Jiang country cultivation realm now, only the Heavenly Sword sect had a nascent soul true lord to preside over it. If the Azure Phoenix Immortal, a loose cultivator, achieves nascent soul, it's feared that not just the whole of Jiang country, but even the neighboring cultivation realms would be shaken. After all, each nascent soul true lord can influence the landscape of a country, of a cultivation realm. This made Lu Changsheng think of the Shenzhen true monarch of the Heavenly Sword sect, also a fierce figure. In the beginning, facing the invitation to battle from the 3 great demon sects of Jin Kingdom, he fought alone against 2 nascent soul true monarchs. The result being he almost slew the 5 Poisons cult leader, possessing truly astonishing combat power. This Azure Phoenix Immortal seeking a breakthrough to nascent soul must be immensely difficult. Azure Phoenix Immortal City only has a 3rd-rank spirit vein, which is simply inadequate for assaulting nascent soul. Even if she temporarily elevates the spiritual energy to 4th rank through methods, it is still quite forced. Moreover, with Azure Phoenix Immortal City close to the Myriad Beasts mountain range, once she attempts to attack nascent soul, there will definitely be demon kings attacking, and the 4 great immortal sects, Heavenly Sword sect, Qingyun sect, Spirit Taming sect, and Luoxia sect, wouldn't want to see the Azure Phoenix Immortal achieve nascent soul, unless she is willing to join one of the 4 great immortal sects. Ling Zixiao held her teacup, her demeanor dignified and elegant, her voice clear as she spoke. Indeed, Lu Changsheng nodded, understanding the principle. It's already quite remarkable for the Azure Phoenix Immortal to rise powerfully as a loose cultivator and establish Azure Phoenix Immortal City. As a loose cultivator, no power wanted to see her break through to nascent soul. Because resources in the cultivation world are limited. With each new person, a share of the bounty must be divided up. Yet this beast tide should have a major issue. As far as I recall, there hasn't been such an exaggerated beast tide for nearly a century. Ling Zixiao frowned slightly, saying so. Indeed, there is a problem. The main target of this beast tide was the spirit-taming sect, not Azure Phoenix Immortal City. The news I received indicates that the spirit-taming sect suffered heavy losses in this battle. Not only were several lines of defense breached, innumerable disciples died or were injured, but also 2 nascent soul immortals and 1 sect guardian spiritual beast were killed, a massive blow to their strength. Were it not for the support from the Qingyun sect, Luoxia sect, and Heavenly Sword sect, the defenses might have been breached. I even suspect that a 4th-rank Great Demon King has emerged within the myriad beasts mountain range. Only such a force could stir up such a beast tide, Xianxia said out loud. 2 nascent soul immortals have died? I had heard that the spirit-taming sect only had 6 nascent soul immortals to begin with. Now to have died? Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng couldn't help but click his tongue. In the Jiang country cultivation realm, nascent soul immortals are top figures wherever they are. Like families and powers presided over by a nascent soul immortal, they are known as cultivation noble houses. But now the spirit-taming sect has lost 2 nascent soul immortals and a 3rd-rank spiritual beast in just 1 battle, which is absolutely dreadful. Yes, now the spirit-taming sect only has 4 nascent soul immortals left. However, the spirit-taming sect also has 2 3rd-rank sect guardian spiritual beasts. The sect's foundation is deep, Xianxia said thus. The cultivation world in these years is truly in an era of frequent turmoil. The invasion incident of the Jin Kingdom demon path hasn't passed long, and now such a horrific beast tide has risen. Lu Changsheng took a deep breath and sighed. In earlier years, he thought the cultivation world was relatively stable. It seems now that the cultivation world has never been at peace, always churning with undercurrents. It's just that his strength was too low before, and his channels of information were limited. He was unaware of many things. Just like the news from the direction of Azure Phoenix Immortal City, had he not asked Xianxia to pay more attention, he would still be unaware now. My lord, turbulence is the norm in the cultivation world. In our Jiang country's west, called the Western region, it belongs to a chaotic area with 100 nations existing together, humans and demons cohabiting, with wars and chaos every year, nations being destroyed. Chapter 694. The Demonic 7 Sects, Sending a Clock to the 4 Great Families. Our Jiang country, 50 years ago, also waged war with Yu country and invaded Yan country. Ling Zixiao spoke, saying so. That's right, in the cultivation world, wars tend to break out every few decades, but the geographical location of our Jiang country is quite advantageous. To the west, we have the western regions. To the north, the natural barrier of the Great Dream Marsh. To the south, Yu country is a righteous nation friendly to us and also guarded by the natural barrier of the Myriad Beasts mountain range. The only threats to be wary of are the demon path of Jin Kingdom and the tide of demon beasts from the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Xianxia said, speaking out loud. So, as long as there is no major war, our Jiang country is relatively safe. Lu Changsheng heard this and chuckled lightly. Indeed, as long as there isn't a war on the scale of the past conflict with the demonic 7 sects, the impact on Jiang country shouldn't be too great. Of course, if Jin Kingdom were to produce another nascent soul true lord, the situation might change. Ling Zixiao said with a light smile. Demonic 7 sects? Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng showed a hint of surprise on his face. He had read many books and knew a bit about the southern wilderness cultivation realm, but he had never heard of these demonic 7 sects. Yes, the demonic 7 sects. I once read in a notebook that 800 years ago, 7 powers from the southern wilderness cultivation realm formed an alliance, waged war, and invaded other countries. That war was incredibly brutal, nearly affecting half of the southern wilderness cultivation realm, with countless countries and powers falling. Not only did nascent soul immortals fall, but even nascent soul true lords perished. Ling Zixiao picked up her tea, took a light sip, and said with a hint of emotion. I seem to have read about this war in the histories of the southern wilderness, which mentioned it was a great battle between righteousness and the demonic path, with the demonic path eventually being repelled by the united righteous powers? Lu Changsheng said, frowning slightly. Yes, that's the war. I saw in the notebook that in just a few years, the demonic seven sects conquered several countries, sweeping through and nearly claiming a quarter of the southern wilderness cultivation realm, forcing many countries and immortal sects of the righteous path to form an alliance and unite to rebuff the demonic seven sects. The war was exceptionally brutal, ending only when the demon witch sect's nascent soul elder perished, prompting the remaining 6 sects to retreat. Ling Zixia recounted slowly. The demon witch sect, an elder in the later stages of the nascent soul perished? Lu Changsheng realized the extent of the war's ferocity only after hearing these words. The history book he read about the southern wilderness mentioned the war only briefly. He hadn't realized it ended with the fall of a late-stage nascent soul great cultivator. Zixia, besides the demon witch sect, what were the other 6 sects called? Lu Changsheng asked curiously. They seemed to be named the Demonic Sect, Holy Lotus Cult, Blood Sea Sect, Myriad Beasts Demon Sect, Netherworld Ghost Sect, and Azure Sky Demon Sect, Ling Zixia said after a moment of contemplation. Due to her dragon roar physique, she often read a wide variety of books, but even so, she couldn't remember these details very clearly. In the 800 years since then, these demonic 7 sects must still exist, right? Lu Changsheng continued to inquire. I'm not too sure either. I only came across this part of history in the notebook. Sects like the Heavenly Sword sect and the Qingyun sect have legacies spanning thousands of years. Even though the demonic 7 sects suffered heavy losses back then, except for the demon witch sect, the remaining 6 sects all had nascent soul stage elders, so it's hard to imagine their legacies coming to an end, Ling Zixia elaborated. Let's hope a war of that scale doesn't happen in the future, Lu Changsheng sighed. He felt that if such a major war were to break out, he would need to be at least at the nascent soul stage to protect his family. Otherwise, even a nascent soul immortal might perish in such a conflict. At that moment, Lu Changsheng recognized that his power, when compared to the entire Qingyun region, was quite commendable. But when considering the entire Jiang country cultivation realm, or even the whole southern wilderness cultivation realm, it was not sufficient. Nascent soul. Despite his confidence in his future, he couldn't predict when he might achieve a nascent soul breakthrough. After all, the entire Jiang country cultivation realm currently only had one nascent soul true lord, which spoke to the difficulty of reaching that stage. He didn't ponder long and continued chatting with Ling Zixia and Xiaoxiye about matters of the cultivation world. Even though he read quite a lot of books regularly, compared to Ling Zixia, he felt rather inferior. So talking with Ling Zixia was also an opportunity to gain much knowledge. Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Despite the heavy casualties in the onslaught of the Beast Tide, Azure Phoenix Immortal City managed to recover its usual bustle and hustle within a few months. After all, to loose cultivators, death was a norm. As long as Azure Phoenix Immortal City and the Azure Phoenix Immortal existed, offering 2nd and 3rd rank cave dwellings, Foundation establishment elixirs, and other rare elixir medicines and treasures, there would always be a steady stream of cultivators arriving at Azure Phoenix Immortal City, forming the foundation of the city. Moreover, not everyone shares the same joy and sorrow. Those cultivators who survived the Beast Tide gained substantially, with faces alight with joy. In a humble courtyard of the outer city, this 3 Suns elixir truly deserves to be a 2nd-rank rare spirit pill. It not only allowed me to break through to the 9th level of energy refinement but has also healed all the hidden injuries and issues I accumulated over the years. In the practice room, Li Feiyu opened his eyes, and his handsome face revealed a trace of happiness. He had been seriously injured in the battle of the Beast Tide but managed to survive with his body refinement. Now that the Beast Tide had subsided, Azure Phoenix Immortal City fulfilled its promise of rewarding based on merit, settling the dues for everyone involved. With these merits, he exchanged for a 3 Suns elixir. Chapter 695. The Demonic 7 Sects, Sending a Clock to the 4 Great Families. Not only had his cultivation level advanced further, but he had also resolved the hidden dangers from his injuries and the consumption of a 2nd-rank monster core during previous battles. Although this merit is not small, it's still far from enough to achieve foundation establishment. As Li Feiyu thought about the path ahead, a sense of gravity appeared on his face. Through his endeavors in Azure Phoenix Immortal City, he had gained some understanding of foundation establishment. He came to a profound realization of the difficulty he would face in attempting to break through to foundation establishment. He possessed only a 7th-grade spiritual root. With a lower-grade spiritual root, when breaking through the 3 barriers of foundation establishment and transforming spiritual power into mana, the conversion efficiency is too slow, proving to be a burden. Therefore, for those with a lower-grade spiritual root to break through to foundation establishment, they must have a foundation establishment elixir and foundation establishment spiritual objects linked to the magic barrier with only a 10 to 20% chance of success. And with his current merits, he could at most exchange for 1 foundation establishment spiritual object. Changsheng has already achieved foundation establishment. How can I allow myself to fall behind? I still have more than 10 years. What difficulty would there be in striving to procure a foundation establishment elixir in this time? Under Li Feiyu's dark brows, his eyes were deep and bright, exuding an unstoppable determination. The vast clear sky was as pure as a washed sapphire, the azure heaven untouched by a single cloud. Among the cloud borders, a spirit boat shuttled along with 6 cultivators aboard, men and women alike. Leading them was a man with a rebellious face and a physique as imposing as a mountain, who radiated a fierce and bandit-like aura in his red robe. He looked at a youth aboard the spirit boat, around 27 or 28 years old, with a hint of violence between his brows, and said, "Little brother, in half a month, we will arrive at the Red Leaf Valley market you spoke of. Have you thought about how to resolve it?" The brawny man said with a sonorous voice and a wild look on his face. "Big brother, my parents died in that Red Leaf Valley market, so I want the entire market and the 4 major families backing it to accompany my parents in death as a sacrifice to their spirits." Upon hearing this, Fang Ye's brows were filled with violence, and hatred flickered in his eyes. 10 years ago, his parents, in order to prepare foundation establishment resources for him, chose to loot the marketplace. As a result, both of them perished at Red Leaf Valley Market. While he was fleeing alone, the blood feud of his parents constantly spurred him on. Through countless brushes with death, he finally made some gains, chancing upon an opportunity in an ancient cave dwelling, breaking through to foundation establishment. Later, he even gathered several sworn brothers and a Dao companion in the Imperial Spirit Sect's domain due to a beast tide. Especially after the eldest brother and his Dao companion learned of his thirst for revenge, inquired about the cause, and expressed a willingness to help him avenge his parents, he was deeply moved. "Good, worthy of little brother indeed, truly domineering, let's do it the way you suggested." A rough and unrestrained voice echoed. "This Red Leaf Valley Market, as little brother said, is just made up of a few foundation establishment families. With all of us brothers going there, aren't they easy to manipulate?" Another voice, leaning towards the cold, rang out. "With our older brothers present, surely they will be easy to manipulate, but these families all have great formations protecting them. If we make consecutive moves, we might even attract people from Qingyun sect. Brother Yu, do you have any tokens to send to these 4 families to let them know you've returned, to keep them constantly anxious? Once they gather, or if we manage to lure them together, we'll find an opportunity to eradicate them all in one fell swoop." The peach-dressed woman by Fang Ye's side spoke out. "Little sister, this proposal isn't bad at all. In that case, when the time comes, we'll send a clock to these 4 families and tell them little brother is back, to let them know they will repay their debts in blood, to get cleaned up and wait for death, kekekek." As someone heard the suggestion, they immediately laughed boisterously. "All right, then, when the time comes, we'll send a clock to these 4 families as a harbinger of their end." Fang Yu, hearing this, displayed a cruel smile. Then, looking at the sky with eyes full of malevolence, he muttered, "Dad, Mom, your son will use Red Leaf Valley Market, the 4 major families, to sacrifice to your spirits in heaven. By Lake Mountain, Changsheng Hall, inside the cave dwelling." Clang, 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 dash, Lu Changsheng heard the noise and gazed at the golden cocoon. As the clear and resonant sounds of clinking and clashing rose incessantly, the golden cocoon began to crack. Boom! The golden cocoon exploded with a bang, and infinite radiance surged forth. A six-winged golden silkworm, its body shimmering with golden light, appeared. After its promotion to the second rank, there had been no significant change. Its body had grown from the original 2 inches to 4 or 5 inches, glistening throughout, and its wings, thin as cicadas, sported strands of golden patterns. The whole gave off the impression of an invincible and indestructible aura. After advancing to the second rank, what changes are there? Lu Changsheng looked at the 6-winged golden silkworm in front of him and asked aloud. Though the 6-winged golden silkworm was known for its ferocity and brutality, with hardly any spiritual intelligence to speak of, through systematic training, Lu Changsheng could still communicate simply with it. But as soon as the 6-winged golden silkworm heard Lu Changsheng's words, it spat out a beam of golden light, sharp as an arrow. Boom! The beam struck the wall of the cave abode, leaving behind a black, scorching gap. As expected of an ancient rare insect species, just having ascended to the second rank, it boasts such an attack power. This cave abode was constructed mainly from void Xian stones and inscribed with spiritual pattern formations. While not as hard as spiritual artifacts, it's comparable to a magic artifact. Moreover, within this golden light, besides its sharpness, there's also a true fire essence that can scorch and corrode one's body and soul. Lu Changsheng examined the spot where the 6-winged golden silkworm attacked, his face showing delight. He clearly recognized the terror of the 6-winged golden silkworm's offensive capabilities. An average Foundation establishment cultivator facing such attacks would likely disintegrate body and soul if careless. As if understanding Lu Changsheng's encouragement, the 6-winged golden silkworm shook its body, and the gold light around it exploded exponentially, taking on the appearance of a massive golden cup. Clang, clang, clang. Lu Changsheng tapped on the 6-winged golden silkworm's body with his finger. He then pulled out a superior magic artifact and chopped at the 6-winged golden silkworm. But the magical sword collided with the golden silkworm, resulting only in a noise reminiscent of clashing metal. Slash! Lu Changsheng circulated his mana and spurred the magical sword to continue slashing at the 6-winged golden silkworm. Yet, like a golden cup, the golden silkworm remained completely unyielding. Even after being chopped twice, the golden silkworm became slightly restless, its body emanating a ferocious and savage bloodthirsty aura. This was Lu Changsheng, its master, and it was able to control itself. If it were anyone else, it would have attacked by now. Such a physique is not weaker than a lower-grade spiritual artifact, even stronger than average spiritual artifacts by a margin. Lu Changsheng put away the magical sword and took out a gourd filled with spiritual blood to feed the 6-winged golden silkworm. After a simple test, he had gained a clear understanding of the 6-winged golden silkworm's strength. For the likes of the Yu family, Lu Yuanzhong by Yunyang, and those at the Foundation establishment level, facing the 6-winged golden silkworm meant almost certain death. Because their cultivation level and strength were unlikely to break through the 6-winged golden silkworm's defenses. And facing its attack, they would have difficulty defending. However, if they fled immediately upon encounter, there was still a good chance they could escape. After the 6-winged golden silkworm had eaten its fill, Lu Changsheng put it back into the spiritual pet bag and walked out of Changsheng Hall. Husband. Just at that moment, Lu Miaoyun rushed over hurriedly to inform Lu Changsheng of a piece of news. Chapter 696. I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. _1. The remnants of the robber cultivator from the Red Leaf Valley Market? Sending a bell? Blood for blood, may you journey well in the Yellow Springs. As Lu Changsheng heard Lu Miaoyun's words and looked at the copper bell in his hand, with residual Foundation establishment late-stage mana, his brow furrowed slightly. He thought to himself, do robber cultivators nowadays play like this? Facing such a situation, should I shout, aside from nascent soul immortals, Who dares to act against our 4 major families? Who dares to curse me with a bell? Investigate this for me. Yuner, did you see who brought this bell here? Lu Changsheng asked aloud. Xiao Yu was guarding the mountain gate when the bell directly smashed in front of it, and no trace of a person was seen. So this is most likely the doing of a foundation establishment cultivator. Lu Miaoyun replied with pursed lips. Lu Changxing nodded thoughtfully after hearing this. A foundation establishment cultivator coming to do this and deliberately leaving behind a trail of foundation establishment late-stage magic aura was obviously not a mere prank. Although such an event wasn't taken seriously by Lu Changxing, even to the point of thinking the other party had issues in the head, this matter was not aimed at by Lake Mountain. Rather, it was targeted at the Red Leaf Valley market and the 4 major families. Therefore, Lu Changxing still had some worries for Qingzhou Mountain and Lu Miaoge. After all, if the other party indeed had a foundation establishment late-stage cultivator, they posed a certain threat to Qingzhou Mountain and Red Leaf Valley market. Especially the Red Leaf Valley market. The market was always open to the public. If a foundation establishment robber cultivator infiltrated, it would be quite troublesome. Yuner, send messages to Qingzhou Mountain, 100 Birds Lake, and the Zheng family to see what they think, Lu Changxing suggested after a moment's thought. If our family received this bell, the other 3 families surely did as well. Yes, my lord, Lu Miaoyun responded, nodding her head and going to send a communication talisman. Afterward, Lu Changxing, holding the copper bell, went to consult Ling Zixiao and Xiao Siye for their opinions. This person dares to act this way, either because they're pretending to be mysterious or they truly possess extraordinary strength, completely disregarding our families, Ling Zixiao said calmly and elegantly after examining the bell. She was aware of Lu Changsheng's strength and was not particularly concerned about the matter. Moreover, her health had improved a lot over the past few years of treatment. Combined with the newly repaired family's great formation, unless it was a nascent soul immortal attacking the formation, there was nothing to fear. Changxing, if you need it, I can report this matter to the sect and request that they send someone to investigate, Xiao Siye said softly. Although matters like this were generally not managed by Qingyun sect unless they escalated, if she went to report it, they could still send someone to investigate. These people dare to act in such a way, obviously, they're not afraid of Qingyun sect coming to investigate. Moreover, Qingyun sect would probably only send 1 or 2 foundation establishment cultivators to oversee and investigate, right? Lu Changxing said aloud. Through the previous incident with Xiaohou money, he knew the sect would get involved in such matters, but they usually only handled it after the fact. After all, causing a big incident within one's own territory was equivalent to slapping Qingyun sect in the face. But if there's just a threatening bell and nothing has actually happened, expecting Qingyun sect to send someone to resolve it would likely be extremely difficult. Given the vastness of the cultivation world and enemies not yet revealing themselves, finding someone is very difficult. Qingyun sect likely wouldn't bother. For matters like this, the sect usually only sends foundation establishment cultivators to investigate or to be stationed, Xiao Siye said, lips slightly parted. These robber cultivators might be bold and arrogant, but not a single one is foolish. They dare to act this way because they're not afraid of the Qingyun sect's investigation. Now that the enemy is hidden and we are exposed, we can only wait for them to show themselves. Ling Zixiao spoke out loud. I'm not so worried about this matter. I'm mainly concerned about Qingzhou Mountain, 100 Birds Lake, and Sister Maiage's situation, Lu Changxing said. This is indeed troublesome. Ling Zixiao nodded slightly, propped up her chin with her jade arm, and mused, My lord, in my view, there are 3 possibilities why this robber cultivator acts this way. One is that they possess absolute power and completely disregard us, using this method for revenge. After all, many madmen seeking revenge like to display themselves in this way. Another is that it's all smoke and mirrors. Considering this person's identity, a remnant of the robber cultivator from 10 years ago, the fact that they didn't show themselves indicates that at the most, they were at the peak of qi refinement. 10 years have passed, and even with some opportunity, they could at most be at middle stage foundation establishment. Such strength is insufficient for revenge, hence they use these tactics to intimidate and trouble us. Lastly, it might be a method to confuse us, keeping us worried and alert for some time until we let our guard down, and then strike unexpectedly either against Red Leaf Valley Market or one of the families. Ling Zixiao stated slowly. I think there's another possibility, Xianxia, with her cool and noble demeanor, said. Considering the current information, this remnant of the robber cultivator is likely not alone. They want revenge against Red Leaf Valley Market and the 4 families behind it. But in the Qingyun region, annihilating someone else's family without cause is viewed as an act of the demon path, especially if they act against the marketplace. So these people wanting to act against both the marketplace and the 4 families simultaneously is difficult. They can only target one family. Once they make their move, the other families will be on alert, drawing Qingyun sect's intervention. So even if they possess absolute power, it would be troublesome to continue targeting the remaining major families after, only to flee and hide under Qingyun sect's pursuit. Their actions, aside from arrogance and mystery, could also be a way to prompt consultations among the 4 families or to increase security at Red Leaf Valley Market, followed by their revenge. Chapter 697. I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. Xianxia voiced her analysis. Not impossible. Upon hearing Xianxia's words, Ling Zixiao nodded slightly. Lu Chongqing, listening to the conversation between the 2 women, pondered for a moment before looking at Ling Zixiao. Zixiao, how is your injury now? My lord, rest assured, my body has already recovered quite a bit. Should I encounter a situation like with Xiahou money in the past, I am now well able to cope. Moreover, with Daoist Xiao at home, along with the Golden Armor Bean Mother, 2nd-rank puppets, my lord can rest assured to head to Qingzhou Mountain and Red Leaf Valley Market. Ling Zixiao, hearing Lu Changsheng's words, showed a slight smile and said so. Her complexion was still pale, but not as devoid of blood as before. With the treatment from the 9 treasures Rui Bone, her meridians and Danshan's recovery was limited, but the overall situation had improved markedly. Chongqing, if you're going to Qingzhou Mountain and Red Leaf Valley, you still need to be careful. If it really comes down to it, I can ask for assistance from the Qingyun sect to station someone at Qingzhou Mountain. Xianxia said. She knew that Lu Chongqing was quite exceptional. Having just broken through to Foundation establishment, he had been able to slay Meng Yibai, who was at the middle stage of Foundation establishment. But the true extent of Lu Changsheng's power remained unclear to her. With the current situation of the enemy hidden and us exposed, she did not want Lu Chongqing to take any risks. Shiyu, rest assured. Lu Chongqing smiled slightly, holding Xiaoxia's hand, and then turned to Ling Zixiao. It's not about that, Zixiao. Do you remember I mentioned before about wanting you to set up a formation at the summit of Baiyun Peak? He had always wanted to plant the Mount Sumeru Tree King. However, considering Ling Zixiao's physical condition, he had not raised this request. Now, encountering such an incident, if Ling Zixiao's body had mostly recovered, he planned to plant the Mount Sumeru Tree King. This way, he wouldn't need to worry about home theft when he was away. Although at home, with Xiaoxia, Ling Zixiao, the Golden Armor Bean Mother, 3rd-rank talismans, and 2nd-rank puppets, they were unlikely to encounter any danger, but Ling Zixiao had only just started to recover, and he did not wish for her condition to worsen due to any situation. And Xiaoxia would also be leaving next year. Of course, I remember. My situation now is such that, as long as it is not the setting up of a large-scale formation, there shouldn't be any significant problem. My lord, what sort of formation do you want? Upon hearing these words, a stream of warmth flowed through Ling Zixiao's heart, and she answered with a gentle smile. This formation mainly needs to be able to conceal the situation at the mountain summit and the aura of a 3rd-rank demon. Lu Chongqing spoke. 3rd-rank demon aura? Both Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia were startled upon hearing this. 3rd-rank demon aura implied the presence of a 3rd-rank demon king. Such level of demon beasts were revered as clan-guarding spiritual beasts wherever they were. By saying this, did Lu Chongqing possess a 3rd-rank spiritual beast? The two women looked at Lu Changxing with shocked and incredulous expressions. Seeing the astonishment and uncertainty in the eyes of the two women, Lu Changxing chuckled. That's right, I happened to fortuitously contract a third-rank tree king by chance. Right now, this honored tree king resides within a certain extraordinary treasure, and once it is released, it will no longer be movable. Hence, I thought, Zishao, now that you can set up a formation to conceal its aura, we could settle it at the summit of Baiyun Peak. That way, I wouldn't have to worry about any danger befalling the house. Lu Changxing said with a smile. A third-rank demon king. Both Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia found it hard to believe and were momentarily at a loss for words upon hearing this. Even though they were aware of the great fortunes and secrets Lu Changxing possessed, that he was quite extraordinary, binding a third-rank demon king as a spiritual beast during the Foundation establishment phase was simply too astonishing. You must know, that was a sovereign demon king. To make such a majestic being submit and become a contracted spiritual beast was nearly as difficult as ascending to divinity, especially when there was such a discrepancy in strength, with Lu Changxing only at Foundation establishment. With Lu Changxing having such a third-rank spiritual beast to protect his family, he could quite confidently claim to be a cultivation clan. However, upon hearing Lu Changxing's words, the two women also understood the problem. The tree king. Unlike plant demon beasts, such as tree and vegetation spirits, which differ from furry, feathered, scaled, or insectoid demon beasts, if they haven't achieved transformation, they cannot move about freely. Therefore, contracting such a plant-based spiritual beast would be somewhat less deterrent in its external influence. Indeed, it might even invite trouble due to this factor. My lord, how strong is this third-rank demon king's power and aura? Ling Zixiao came back to her senses and asked Lu Changxing. This is something I can't quite describe, but it is among the stronger ones within the third rank. Lu Changxing pondered slightly. Although he did not know the exact strength of the Mount Sumeru Tree King, the words low-grade true spirit already said everything. When a demon beast with a heavenly grade bloodline grows to the third rank, it is equivalent to a cultivator who has condensed a superior gold core. As such, being a true spirit level, the Mount Sumeru Tree King should be undefeatable among its rank, shouldn't it? If it's just about simply concealing the Tree King's true form and aura, I can modify the inverted 5 elements formation to accomplish that. But once the Tree King takes action, its aura will be no longer concealable, Ling Zixiao said after a moment of consideration. That will be enough. This kind of thing is just a precaution after all, Lu Changxing said with a smile. Though the exposure of the Mount Sumeru Tree King would likely cause him troubles, if it came down to such a dangerous situation, there would be no other choice. After all, revealing the Tree King was still better than being robbed at home. Moreover, by then, with the Mount Sumeru Tree King at hand and his own power through the 9 treasured jade rui comparable to core formation, he reckoned that unless there was an attack from a nascent soul true lord or the immortal sex, there wouldn't be too great a danger. And besides, I think I might even be able to summon a nascent soul immortal. Chapter 698. I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. Lu Changxing thought about the promise from a nascent soul immortal he still held. Although 20 years had passed, he didn't know if this nascent soul immortal would still honor their previously made agreement. Besides these, he also had his connection to Xiaoxia. The master of the other party also seemed quite decent, previously willing to help when he encountered trouble in Qingyun sect. Should it come to that, he might be able to rely on this connection to seek refuge with Qingyun sect. As Lu Changxing calculated in such a manner, he suddenly felt that if he were to let loose completely, his strength would be sufficient to carve out a territory in the Qingyun region. However, such matters were only a thought to him. Unless absolutely necessary, he couldn't possibly reveal everything. After all, wasn't it better for him to develop peacefully and steadily? All right, since it is so, I will set up a small-scale inverted 5 elements formation here. I will weaken and simplify the defensive, prohibitive, and enemy-confining effects of the formation and enhance all of its concealing, illusory, and confusing effects. This way, we could shield the situation of the third-rank Tree King. Ling Zixiao said this. After speaking, she looked at Lu Changxing and said, "However, my lord, you still need to consider one thing. If this tree king starts to inhale and exhale spiritual energy, I'm afraid it will consume the entire spirit vein of Baiyun Peak." "I have already thought about this problem. You can rest assured, Zishao," Lu Changxing replied with a smile. "Then I am relieved, but I will need my lord to prepare some materials for the formation," Ling Zixiao said with a faint smile. "All right, no problem." Lu Changxing nodded, immediately asking Ling Zixiao what materials were needed and how long it would take to set up the formation. "Our family still has 2 array masters, so it won't take long to cover the peak of Baiyun Peak. It can be done in about 10 days, Ling Zixiao stated. "All right, no problem," Lu Changxing nodded, checked what materials were missing, then concealed his form and went out. He prepared to make a trip to Qingzhou Mountain and the Red Leaf Valley Market to purchase all the materials. Meanwhile, 9 Dragons Market. In a small courtyard. The message has already been sent to the 4 major families. Let them fall into chaos for a while, and when the time is right, well, go rob the Red Leaf Valley Market. Once the 4 families' Foundation establishment members come to support, we'll be able to kill them all in one fell swoop and avenge you brothers' parents. Tao Xiaolan, wearing a peach-colored dress, said. She wanted her partner to achieve clarity of thought and be freed from hatred, even considering replicating actions from the past. It's a pity that the Yu family has been destroyed. I still wanted to flay and dismember that person, to offer my parents' spirits in heaven. Fang Yu said bitterly. Among the 4 major families, he hated the Yu family the most. Because it was the patriarch of the Yu family who interfered with his parents, otherwise they still had a chance to escape. Although he hated the nameless sword cultivator who killed his parents, this hatred had nowhere to vent. He planned to investigate the information and seek revenge once he advanced further in strength. I've inquired a bit about the 4 families, and we need to be a bit wary of Lu Changxing from the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. This man once used a talisman formation to kill 3 of the Yu family's Foundation establishment cultivators. Although they were only 1 middle stage and 2 early stage cultivators, he's not someone to be underestimated. A middle-aged man with a fair complexion and a soft, feminine brow said. Although they did not view the Red Leaf Valley Market or the 4 major families seriously as robber cultivators who had traveled far and wide, they still maintained a level of caution. Upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley Market, they also discreetly learned about the situation of the 4 major families. Talisman formation? This thing is indeed out of the ordinary. Once in Yu country, I encountered a kid from the Beast Talisman sect. He sacrificed a pile of talismans, forming a talisman formation, and nearly caused me, the Buddha, to capsize in the gutter and fall into his hands. A burly, bald man with a scarred head said this. Oh, second brother actually encountered such a matter? What was the kid's cultivation level that he nearly tripped you up? Upon hearing this, Fang Yu asked. He knew well his second brother's prowess, who had just broken through to the late stage of Foundation establishment, but long possessed a corporeal body of the late stage of Foundation establishment. That kid was at the early stage of Foundation establishment, but he sacrificed 100 talismans in an instant, forming a strange beast. If it wasn't for Buddha's Vajra overlord body and talisman treasure for protection, I really wouldn't have been able to break his talisman formation. The bald man touched the scar on his head, recalling with unease. Talisman formation technique is indeed powerful, but this method has a fatal flaw. At this moment, the red-robed man, sitting upright and dominating at the head of the table, said. He propped up his thick and muscular legs on the table, continuing, all the might of this talisman formation lies in the talismans. Ordinary cultivators don't snatch them. Talismans rely on being purchased with money, or drawing them themselves, so how many talismans can they have? So indeed, such techniques can only serve as a trump card, a life-saving means. That kid used the talisman formation to kill 3 Foundation establishment members back then, which means this is his ace in the hole. Only a few years have passed, how many talismans could he possibly have left on him? So when the time comes, just pay a little more attention to this youngster. However, for someone of his inheritance to have such ability is also good news for us. This kind of talisman formation inheritance is worth a lot of money. The red-robed man, large and imposing as a mountain, took out a wine jug, took a swig, and spoke loudly. Heh, talisman formation inheritance, I've got to study that well when the time comes, the bald man said, smiling at the thought. Not only that, I've inquired slightly, and this fellow's fortunes are quite extraordinary. The fair-skinned middle-aged man showed a sly smile and continued. Kakakaka, it seems we've found ourselves a fat sheep, thanks to our fifth brother. Chapter 699. I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. Not to mention anything else, the opportunities this lad has had alone make our trip worthwhile. A thin, sallow-faced elder in a black robe cackled with laughter. As the others chatted and conversed, a burst of cheerful laughter filled the hall. Qingzhou Mountain, Qingzhou Hall. Chongqing, how about I go to the Red Leaf Valley Market to watch over things, and let Miaoga stay at home to hold the fort? Lu Yuanzhong suggested to Lu Chongqing. Uncle, there's no need for that. With this second-rank communication talisman and these 3, if anything comes up, contact me immediately, and I will rush over as fast as I can. Though Lu Chongqing thought the proposal was good, after consideration he still declined. After all, he had a rough idea of Lu Yuanzhong's combat abilities. Let alone being affected by injuries, even in his prime, his strength was quite average. Lu Miaoga might only be at the first layer of foundation establishment, but with her practice of the water of virtue technique and her perfect foundation base, her mana is powerful. And with the second-rank talismans, third-rank talismans, and talisman treasures he had given her, her strength was sufficient to deal with anyone at the middle stage of foundation establishment. She could even slay those at the late stage of foundation establishment if they were weak enough. Plus, if she couldn't win, she could still escape with the help of the talismans. All right, Chongqing, you also need to be extra careful. Lu Yuanzhong nodded upon hearing this and said no more. Having seen how Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoga treated him earlier, he knew their mana was far stronger than his. If it weren't for the fear of losing face, he would even consider sparring with Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoga to gauge the gap between them. Rest assured, uncle, Lu Chongqing nodded. He then went to pay respects to his father-in-law, Lu Yuanding, and the fourth elder. Years had passed, and Lu Yuanding had aged considerably, with much more white hair. Looking at his father-in-law, Lu Chongqing felt quite nostalgic. He vividly remembered how the man had taken him back to the Lu family at the foot of the Qingyun sect. After paying his respects, Lu Chongqing prepared to leave. At that moment, a woman was supporting an old, stooped man nearby. The two were talking about something. The old man looked at Lu Chongqing and immediately called out, "Greetings to Lu Mountain Lord." Uncle Gue. Upon seeing the elder, Lu Chongqing stopped, nodded with a smile, and greeted him. This old man was the Qingzhou Villa's 100 Treasures pavilion shopkeeper who had taken good care of him in the past. Greetings to Lu Mountain Lord. The woman beside him looked at Lu Chongqing with a complex expression and respectfully greeted him. Little Moon, long time no see. Lu Chongqing nodded slightly, recognizing her as Uncle Gui's granddaughter. After a brief exchange with the two, he took out a bottle of elixir medicine from his storage bag that could nourish the flesh and gifted it to Uncle Gui. Although the man possessed the cultivation level of Qi refinement, 5th layer, his years of hard work had taken a toll on his health. If he could nourish himself with the elixir medicine, he would be able to live a few years longer. Please accept it, Uncle Gui. You took good care of me in the past. It'll trouble you to pass these 2 bottles of elixir medicine to Uncle Fu and Lu Bo on my behalf, Lu Chongqing said, taking out 2 more bottles for the other 2 stewards. Thank you, Lu Mountain Lord. Both expressed their gratitude, and watching Lu Chongqing walk away, they were filled with emotion. They had never thought that the once son-in-law, who had become a formidable ancestor and master of a mountain, would still remember the kindness they showed him and display such warmth. Upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Chongqing met with Lu Miaoga and spoke about the matter of the robber cultivators. Lu Miaoga had already received the news and said she would increase patrols and be more vigilant in the Red Leaf Valley Market during this time. Afterwards, Lu Changxing also asked Lu Miaoge to help see if they could gather all the materials needed for the family's array in the Red Leaf Valley market, so he wouldn't have to make another trip to any other marketplaces. Chapter 700. Su Ruyan. Is this a heaven-rank demon beast? One night. Enveloped by the hazy moonlight and the powerful formation, the entire Red Leaf Valley market appeared as if draped in a thin, light veil, lending it a mysterious and solemn air. At this late hour, silence reigned, save for the rustling of the red maple trees and the faint sounds of patrolling guards. In a simple yet elegant cave dwelling, Lu Changxing caressed Lu Miaoge's flawless jade body, which was flushed pink from warmth and covered in fine beads of sweat, completing the last step of the tender embrace technique. He merged the dual cultivation's yin essence with his own yang essence, thereby transforming 1 into 2, 2 into 3, and returning it all back. Lu Miaoge's beautiful face, fair as snow, blushed like the dawn, as radiant and vibrant as peach blossoms, while her delicate body trembled gently as if it were mud softened by water. Lu Changxing embraced his beloved wife, his palm gently caressing her soft and smooth skin, akin to mutton fat jade. After breaking through foundation establishment while practicing the water of virtue technique, not only Lu Miaoge's temperament but also her physique became even more perfect and flawless. After a moment, Lu Changxing tenderly inquired, "Sister Miaoge, how long until you break through to the second level of foundation establishment?" "I currently have 126 drops of liquefied mana, and I estimate it will take another 2 to 3 years to break through to the second level." Lu Miaoge's beautiful eyes shimmered like water, and her rosy cheeks seemed to burn with fire, making her graceful and gentle face indescribably radiant. 2 to 3 years. Lu Changxing nodded slightly upon hearing her words. He knew that Lu Miaoge's progress was delayed by everyday trifles, as well as by treating Lu Yuanzhong and Ling Zixiao. Otherwise, with the aid of the elixir medicines he had provided, her cultivation would not be so slow. With his hands feeling the supple smoothness, he inhaled the orchid musk fragrance of his wife and posed another question. "Sister Miaoge, currently in Qingzhou Mountain, who do you think is suitable for attempting foundation establishment?" There was just one ingredient missing for the concoction of the foundation establishment elixir. If he was not able to acquire it this year, Lu Changxing planned to have Xiao Xier exchange for one from the Qingyun sect. Therefore, by next year at the latest, he should be able to gather the necessary ingredients and refine the foundation establishment elixir. He had long decided on how to distribute the foundation building elixir. With his alchemy skills, he could stably produce 3 pills. Out of the 3 foundation establishment elixirs, one would go to Qingzhou Mountain and another to Bailing. As for the remaining one, he would decide based on the situation at the time. Attempting foundation establishment? Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge's face showed a hint of contemplation as she said, "Currently, only Miao Feng and Mu Ping in our family are capable of attempting foundation establishment. If I were to choose, Miao Feng is definitely more suitable than Mu Ping. Not only has he had one attempt at foundation establishment, but he has also gone through more tempering and has a more steadfast Dao heart." "Changxing, what's the matter?" Lu Miaoge looked at Lu Changxing, asking him. "I previously obtained a special second-rank monster core, and I have been collecting ingredients for the foundation establishment elixir over the past few years. Now, I have almost all the ingredients I need. If all goes well, I should be able to gather them all next year and refine the foundation establishment elixir. Thus, I am thinking of giving one foundation establishment elixir to Qingzhou Mountain, so someone from the family can break through to foundation establishment, and you, Sister Miaoge, won't have to strain yourself so much. You can then cultivate in peace at Bai Lake Mountain," Lu Changxing said while shaping a snow figure with his hands. Foundation establishment elixir. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge's face showed surprise, her heart throbbing. She had already been deeply moved by Lu Changxing preparing a foundation establishment elixir for her. She had not expected that Lu Changxing could obtain another foundation establishment elixir and had even planned to give one to Qingzhou Mountain for her sake. For a moment, She didn't know what to say. After all, she wasn't the kind of family's Missy who had never experienced hardship. She knew all too well how difficult it was to acquire a foundation establishment elixir. Moreover, Bai Lake Mountain was currently running at a loss, relying solely on Lu Changxing, the head of the household. In such a situation, Lu Changxing was still thinking about her and Qingzhou Mountain. Changxing, if it is convenient, I will speak to my uncle later, so that the family can prepare spirit stones or write an IOU. Lu Miaoge lightly bit her lip, her eyes brimming like liquid. Although she had an inextricable emotional attachment to Qingzhou Mountain and wished for it to improve continuously, as Lu Changsheng's wife, she felt she already owed him enough and didn't want her husband to keep giving so much. If Lu Changxing obtained a foundation establishment elixir and privately sold it to Qingzhou Mountain, in her eyes it was already a great gesture. After all, it was very difficult for ordinary loose cultivators and families to acquire a foundation establishment elixir. Outside of chance and luck, or the Purple Shadow secret realm, they could only hope to buy it at auctions in the 3 great immortal cities. The foundation establishment elixir is not yet refined, so you don't need to speak explicitly about this matter. But you can hint at it, so the family can make preparations and try to purchase ingredients suitable for their foundation establishment. Lu Changxing said with a smile, inhaling the fragrance of his wife's hair. Money wasn't his main concern. After all, he had received a lot of support from the Lu family, and he had connections with Lu Miaoge, Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, Lu Lanshu, and so forth. What he truly cared about was whether the foundation establishment would be successful after giving away the elixir. Although Miao Feng and Mu Ping both had middle-grade spiritual roots, with a foundation establishment elixir, their chances of successful foundation establishment were around 40 to 50%. But frankly, this rate wasn't considered very high. He didn't want to give away the elixir only to have Qingzhou Mountain fail at foundation establishment. Alright, I will speak to my uncle about this later and have Miao Feng and Mu Ping make the necessary preparations too. Lu Miaoge replied softly, her eyes full of tender affection. Once we have a new foundation establishment in the family, Sister Miaoge, you can also settle down and cultivate properly. After a few more years, when the situation is stable, we, along with Huan, will visit Qing Shan and Little Zhu at the Jinyang sect. Lu Changxing held his wife and spoke. Okay. Upon hearing these words, Lu Miaoge's face lit up with smiles, looking stunningly beautiful. Chapter 701. Su Ruyin. Is this a heaven-rank demon beast? Once, her goals were foundation establishment and family. Now that she had achieved foundation establishment, her thoughts gradually focused on her family. All she hoped for was a happy family and for Bai Lake Mountain and Qingzhou Mountain to both prosper more and more. Bai Lake Mountain. To have Miss Su from the Su family stay at my Bai Lake Mountain for a few days? At the mountain gate, Lu Miaoyun looked at the Patriarch Zheng and Su Ruyin before her, her delicate eyebrows slightly furrowed. Patriarch Zheng, Miss Su, please wait a moment, she said. She passed the message on to Ling Zixiao. If it had been an ordinary visit, she would have dared to make a decision. But with the recent incident involving the Copper Bell Rogue cultivator, she was unsure of what to do at the moment. To stay at our place for a few days? Ling Zixiao, upon hearing this, came to the mountain gate and appraised Su Ruyin. She had soft, shining, fiery red hair, a delicate and aloof face, a curvaceous figure, wearing a splendid dress interwoven with gold and red threads. Her looks, figure, and temperament were all top-notch. My husband has been at home for all these years. It's normal for him to attract a young lady on his rare outings, Ling Zixiao remarked to herself as she observed Su Ruyin. Otherwise, why would a young woman come to their home seeking refuge from disaster? And even if she did come to seek refuge, it wouldn't be by herself, would it? Miaoyun, please arrange for Miss Su to stay at Bai Lake Villa, Ling Zixiao said with a slight smile. Setting aside whether there was any relationship between Lu Changxing and Su Ruyin, given the relationship between the Lu and Zheng families, and considering the face of the Yushui Su family, it would be difficult to refuse such a request from the other party. Very well, Miss Su, please follow me, Lu Miaoyun said immediately after hearing this, leading Su Ruyan to buy Lake Villa. Afterward, Ling Zixiao invited Patriarch Xing into the mountain for tea, inquiring why he had only sent Miss Su over. It was Miss Su herself who insisted, Patriarch Xing explained with a wry smile. He mentioned that his family originally planned to settle Su Ruyan and several young family members in the Nine Dragons market, but Su Ruyan expressed that Bai Lake Mountain was closer to Wugong Ridge, and she wished to stay there temporarily until her ancestors arrived. I truly apologize for bothering Senior Ling, Patriarch Xing said as he cupped his hands. Had it not been for Su Ruyan's insistent request, he too would not have wanted to trouble Bai Lake Mountain. After all, sending people to the Nine Dragons market would also ensure their safety, and sending them to Bai Lake Mountain instead would mean owing a favor. You are too courteous, Patriarch Xing, Ling Zixiao replied on hearing this. Almost convinced of her earlier guess, Ling Zixiao felt this young lady must have feelings for Lu Changxing, or else she wouldn't have taken such an initiative. After a brief conversation, Patriarch Xing did not stay for further discussion and took his leave. By Lake Villa, Lu Miaoyun settled Su Ruyan in a tranquil attic. She told her she'd be staying there and could seek her out for anything she needed. Thank you for your troubles, Mrs. Lu, Su Ruyan expressed her gratitude to Lu Miaoyun. Huh, so this is by Lake Mountain? I wonder if Lu Changsheng's heaven-ranked demon beast is on this by Lake Mountain? Su Ruyan looked out the window at the scenery, musing secretly to herself. Since being at Zheng family's place, she had sensed the aura of a heaven-ranked demon beast from Lu Changxing. Therefore, she had been trying to find a way to get close to Lu Changxing. She wanted to see the state of Lu Changsheng's heaven-ranked demon beast and whether there was a chance for her to obtain it. After all, her cultivation level was already at the 9th level of energy refinement, and it wouldn't take much longer before she could make a break for foundation establishment. However, she didn't want to achieve it just like that. Her desire was to contract a heaven-ranked demon beast first and then form a beastly Dao foundation. Only by doing so could she respond in kind at the family competition, exchanging tooth for tooth, blood for blood, returning all the hatred her father faced to those responsible. The recent event with the rogue cultivator delivering the clock made her realize it was an opportunity. So, she used it as a pretext to ask the Zheng family to send her to Bai Lake Mountain to see if she could detect the presence of a heaven-ranked demon beast. Senior Hong Lian, with you concealing my form and aura, is it possible to deceive the great formation of Bai Lake Mountain? Su Ruyan inquired in her mind. This great formation of Bai Lake Mountain is only of the 2nd rank, and as long as it is not fully operational, it should not be a big problem. A serene, clear, and gentle voice replied in Su Ruyan's mind. Just then, the serene and clear voice paused. Su Ruyan felt something at that moment, turning her gaze toward the sky outside the window. Lalan, there she saw a young woman in a moon-white dress, flying towards Bai Shui Lake with a little girl of 6 or 7 years old in a pink silk dress. Su Ruyan stared intently at the little girl's seat, a plump, ice-blue turtle emitting a faint chill, looking utterly adorable. Is this a heaven-ranked demon beast? Su Ruyan was a bit bewildered. She had been intending to use Senior Hong Lian's power to conceal herself and investigate Bai Lake Mountain. But unexpectedly, the heaven-ranked demon beast she had so longed for and thought about endlessly, she yearned for so greatly, appeared right before her eyes. If not for the reaction of the beast technique, she would hardly believe that the turtle the little girl was riding was a heaven-rank bloodline demon beast. Senior Hong Lian. Su Ruyan reached out with her mind. Indeed, this is a heaven-rank bloodline demon beast. The serene and clear voice spoke once again. Not only was Su Ruyan taken aback, but so was the voice in her head. Both were astonished beyond belief. It was hard to imagine that a heaven-rank demon beast would be ridden and played with by a little girl. Red Leaf Valley Market. Since the inverted 5 elements formation that Ling Zixiao had set up was only a small formation, the required materials were not numerous. Ling Zixiao had also taken into consideration the rarity of materials and listed all possible substitutes. Therefore, it took Lu Changxing just 2 days to gather all the materials needed for the formation in the Red Leaf Valley Market. In those 2 days, Lu Changxing also received feedback from the other 3 families regarding their stance on the rogue cultivator incident, which was to be vigilant, contact each other immediately if anything happened, and provide mutual assistance. Chapter 702, Su Ruyin. Is this a heaven-rank demon beast? After all, the 4 families couldn't possibly close off their mountains because of a single threat and abandon Red Leaf Valley Market. Following that, the 4 families jointly reported the matter to Qingyun sect. Though the sect would at most conduct a cursory investigation into such matters, they still needed to file a report. Sister Miaoga, if bandit cultivators really attack, send me a message right away. If there's danger, use the talisman I gave you. Your safety comes first. Once I've settled some matters at home, I will come over, Lu Changxing instructed Lu Miaoga. Okay, Changxing, rest assured. Lu Miaoga's beautiful eyes were gentle as water, as she smiled warmly. Most of the time, it was she who told Lu Changxing to be careful and watch out. Now, to be cautioned by Lu Changxing like a little child, she found it slightly amusing, and a warm current surged in her heart. Lu Changxing hugged his wife, then concealing his true face, left Red Leaf Valley Market and returned to Bai Lake Mountain. On the way, he was highly vigilant to guard against the bandit cultivator who could be lying in wait for him. However, the journey was very smooth, and nothing unexpected occurred. Once home, Lu Changxing handed over the array materials to Ling Zixiao. My lord. At this time, Ling Zixiao conveyed a matter to Lu Changxing. Su Ruyin? At the mention of this name, Lu Changxing's brows furrowed. Correct. The Zheng family currently has no foundation establishment cultivators in residence and is afraid that bandit cultivators might visit after receiving the copper bell. Thus, the day after you, my lord, had departed, Patriarch Zheng sent this Miss Su to our Bai Lake Mountain. Hoping that this Miss Su could stay at our place for a while and wait for someone from the Yu Shui Su family to come. Ling Zixiao said so, her posture full and graceful, speaking with dignified elegance. Where is she now? Lu Changxing inquired. She has been arranged to stay at Bai Lake Villa. Ling Zixiao replied as such. She noticed that Lu Changxing's expression was not quite right and asked, My lord, is there a problem with this girl? It's not so much a problem, but when I previously visited the Zheng family for the funeral I saw this girl. Lu Changxing made no secret of it before Ling Zixiao. He indicated that while he was at the Zheng family, she kept stealing glances at him, which was not normal. With a young and promising husband like yours, not only are you a foundation establishment cultivator and a master of the talisman path, but you are also a mountain lord, and on top of that, you're so handsome. It's perfectly normal for a young girl to sneak peeks and fall in love, Ling Zixiao said, her tone half jesting. Are you making fun of your husband? Lu Changxing naturally detected the playful tone in her voice and wrapped his arms around her full waist. Ling Zixiao let out a soft cry and then spoke earnestly. Initially, I talked with Patriarch Zheng for a moment. His intention was to send the girl to Nine Dragons Market to stay temporarily, waiting for someone from the Yu Shui Su family to come. But the girl, on her own accord, suggested coming to Bai Lake Mountain. At that time, I thought this young girl had taken a liking to you, my lord. Now it seems she must have another motive. Ling Zixiao spoke, her elegant features revealing a hint of playfulness. But besides talismans, I haven't revealed my alchemy skills. What can she be after? Lu Changxing stroked his chin as he said this. I do not know that. Ling Zixiao gently shook her head. She initially thought Lu Changxing had some connection with Su Ruyin, seeing as in her eyes, Lu Changxing was an ideal partner in all respects except one could not easily judge matters of the opposite sex. All right, you can proceed with the array formation. I must ask Yuner to keep an eye on this Miss Su from the Su family. Lu Changxing's eyes narrowed as he spoke. If before he was just being cautious around Su Ruyin, now he felt there was definitely something amiss about her. All right. Ling Zixiao nodded her head, not wanting to delay. She summoned the 2 array masters in the family to start setting up a formation on the summit of Baiyun Peak. Yuna, Yong'an, these next few days, you could go and see Miss Su, chat with her from time to time. Lu Changsheng arrived at the Lu family mansion and said to Lu Miaoyun and Jing Yongwen, both women, one as the lady of the Lu family and the other connected to the Zheng family, visiting Su Ruyan was normal, to see if they could catch any hint of intent. Yes, husband. Upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words, both women nodded. Upon his request, they subconsciously assumed their husband must have an unusual relationship with this Miss Su from the Su family. Especially Jing Yongwan. Although she lacked Lu Changsheng's divine sense, her female intuition made her take note of the Su family misglancing at her husband from time to time while they were at the Zheng family. She couldn't help but speculate in her heart, wondering if this Miss Su would become one of the sisters in the household. She had inquired about this Miss Su before. She was the pearl of the Yu Shui Su family, and it was unlikely she would marry easily. However, considering how proactive this Miss Su was, such an eventuality didn't seem impossible. Chapter 703. The Tree King appears within the cave heaven. _1 Blue Lake Mountain. Inside the manor's grand hall. Ruyan has been troubling Lu Mountain Lord these past few days. Su Renguang said politely to Lu Changsheng. He had just arrived at Wugong Ridge when he heard from the Zheng family that his beloved granddaughter had gone to stay temporarily at Blue Lake Mountain. Upon hearing this news, he was terrified and rushed to Blue Lake Mountain without stopping to take his precious granddaughter back. After all, he had heard of the great reputation of Lu Changsheng. Not only was he a son-in-law from Qingzhou Mountain who became a foundation establishment great cultivator, a master of the talisman path, and single-handedly killed 3 foundation establishment cultivators, but he also established the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Another thing that was widely talked about was his zeal for marrying and having children. In just over 20 years, he had amassed over 50 wives and concubines and more than 150 children, essentially creating a clan all by himself. So hearing that his granddaughter had run off to Blue Lake Mountain, he was terrified that Lu Changsheng might lay his hands on her. If anything were to happen between the two of them, he couldn't even bear to imagine it. Su Daoyu is too kind. Lu Changsheng said with a chuckle. Grandpa. At this moment, Lu Miaoyun and Su Ruyan arrived in the hall. Su Renguang looked at his granddaughter with displeasure, then stood up and said with cupped hands, Lu Mountain Lord, I have other matters to attend to and must not stay for long. I will take my leave now. If Lu Mountain Lord is ever free in the future, you are welcome to visit the Su family anytime. After speaking and leaving a gift behind, he took his granddaughter Su Ruyan and bid farewell, leaving Blue Lake Mountain. Su Daoyu, take care. Lu Changsheng saw the two out of the mountain gate. But seeing the other party's face filled with relief and haste in taking his granddaughter away, he felt a hint of inexplicable insult. My family kindly took in your granddaughter with ulterior motives, and yet you behave like this, distrustful of my character, aren't you? Yuner, have you or Xiaowan noticed anything amiss about Miss Su in the past few days? At this time, Lu Changsheng turned to Lu Miaoyun, who was standing beside him, and asked. Nothing out of the ordinary. Miss Su only went out to the lake once in these 5 days. The rest of the time she was cultivating alone in her room. Lu Miaoyun shook her head slightly and spoke. Husband, what's wrong? Nothing, I just feel that Miss Su is a bit of a problem. Lu Changsheng said casually. A problem? Lu Miaoyun's face showed a thoughtful expression. But after thinking for a long time, she couldn't recall anything about Miss Su that seemed problematic. If she really had to say there was a problem, it would be her lack of interest in her own husband. After all, according to Xiaowan, Miss Su from the Su family might have developed feelings for her own husband. But now that she's come to Blue Lake Mountain, she hasn't shown too much of it these past days. 6 days later, at the summit of Baiyun Peak, inverted 5 elements formation, activate. Ling Zixiao placed the flags and array plate properly, then went to the formation's eye and inserted one spell after another into the array plate. The next moment, flags around the peak flapped in the wind, beams of light appeared, and the spiritual mechanism surged, forming a 5-colored glass pillar. My lord, the formation is ready, you can give it a try, Ling Zixiao said to Lu Changsheng. Okay. Lu Changsheng turned into a streak of light and flew out of the peak. As the five-colored glass pillar on the peak twisted, it gradually vanished, turning into a hazy white mist. The white mist swirled, and the peak reappeared, but everything on the mountain was gone. The trees, Ling Zixiao, Xiaoxia, Changxing Hall, all invisible. Lu Changsheng channeled mana into his eyes, hoping to see through the formation and make out the situation inside. However, layers of fog-like obstruction shielded his view. He could somewhat discern that the scene before him was an illusion but could not see clearly inside. When he used his divine sense to probe, he felt an invisible barrier preventing the divine sense from penetrating. Subsequently, Lu Changsheng descended back onto the peak. The scene before him on the peak, the trees and all, felt as real as the actual landscape. The sensation was genuine. Lu Changsheng tried to locate the aura of Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia but couldn't sense them at all. So this is the power of a formation. It seems I will have to learn some formation techniques in the future, Lu Changxing mused. Otherwise, if I were to enter some formation, I might end up trapped and die within it. Although he said this, he currently had two methods of breaking through formations. One was to use an unsealing talisman to break the formation. Another was the 8th divine skill of his 9 treasures Rui Bone, the unsealing divine light, which could break all sorts of formation restrictions. Lu Changxing strolled around the peak for a couple of rounds but no matter what, was unable to enter the real Baiyun Peak summit. He nodded in satisfaction and said, "This will do, Zishao." As his words fell, the scenery before him began to shift and Lu Changxing saw he was standing exactly in the center of the peak summit. And Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia were close by. "How was it, my lord?" Ling Zixiao, holding the array plate with a light smile, asked. "Good, the inverted 5 elements formation's illusionary and confusing effects have no issues, though we still need to check on the aspect of the magic aura," Lu Changxing said with a smile. Then he turned to Xiaoxia and said, "Shiyu, I'll release my mana aura in a moment. Can you tell if you can sense it?" "Okay," Xiaoxia nodded lightly in response. "Then, Dao Yu Xiao, I will start the formation for you," Ling Zixiao said to Xiaoxia. And then she activated the array plate with her mana. Lu Changxing could clearly see the top of the peak's formation mechanism surging, a stream of 5-colored glass light flowing, enveloping Xiaoxia. "Changxing, it's ready," Xiaoxia said. She was in a moon-white dress, her face calm and tranquil, looking towards Lu Changxing, her beautiful eyes as serene and clear as the moon in the sky. "Okay." Upon hearing her, Lu Changsheng's mana surged from his dantian. His middle-stage foundation establishment mana, augmented by the profound origin bead, surged like a raging river, surrounding him with an aura of late-stage foundation establishment pressure. Chapter 704. The Tree King emerges, inside the cave heaven. This, Ling Zixiao stared at the scene in a daze, her beautiful eyes revealing surprise and doubt. She knew that Lu Changxing was breaking through to the middle stage of foundation establishment on his way back from Jiuxiao Immortal City. But at the moment, spiritual pressure surged around Lu Changsheng's body, far surpassing the middle stage of foundation establishment and reaching the late stage. "Shiyu, can you sense my magic aura?" Lu Changxing asked Xiaoxia. "My lord, Xiao Daoist friend can't hear your voice right now," Ling Zixiao spoke out, then made a hand spell and conveyed the message to Xiaoxia. "Changxing, I can't sense your magical spiritual pressure, but somehow, I can feel where you are," Xiaoxia said. "Somehow, you can feel where I am?" Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows upon hearing this. He thought to himself that there was such a method. "My lord, do you have any means of communication with Xiao Daoist friend?" The formation is primarily for hiding, illusion, and confusion. You and Xiao Daoist friend are both within the formation. If there's some treasure, you can still sense each other's presence. Ling Zixiao immediately said to Lu Changxing. "Means of communication, treasure?" Lu Changxing subconsciously took out a yin-yang sensing talisman. But in the next moment, he figured out what was happening. Dao Foundation. When he was condensing his Dao Foundation, he used Xiaoxia's Supreme Yin Moonlight as the basis. Therefore, There was an inexplicable connection between them. That's also why the dual cultivation effects between him and Xianxia were far superior to others. Now, without the jade pendant to conceal his aura and running his magical spiritual pressure to its peak, and with them not being far from each other, Xianxia was able to sense him through the Dao foundation. "It's okay, it doesn't affect anything," Lu Changxing said, then with a slight move of his mental spirit, he activated the 9 treasures Rui Bone, 9 treasures Rui Qi. Boom! In an instant, the mana in Lu Changsheng's dantian surged like a breached river and an erupting volcano, his spiritual pressure climbing steadily. This spiritual pressure made Ling Zixiao beside him feel a certain pressure. Ling Zixiao looked at Lu Changxing in front of her, her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief. It was astonishing enough that Lu Changxing had revealed the spiritual pressure of the late stage of foundation establishment. But now, his spiritual pressure was still rising, almost surpassing the foundation establishment stage. The air around them felt dense and heavy, making it difficult to breathe. Having a contractual bond with a third-rank demon king, being in the middle stage of foundation establishment, revealing a spiritual pressure that nearly surpasses the peak of foundation establishment. At this moment, Ling Zixiao didn't even know what to say about Lu Changxing. After many years of knowing him, she thought she had seen just the tip of the iceberg. But now, she found Lu Changxing as enigmatic as ever, shrouded in mystery. Even if Lu Changxing claimed to be the reincarnation of a great power or a true immortal, she would believe it. Zixiao, Lu Changxing slightly reduced the spiritual pressure directed at Ling Zixiao and called out to her. He asked her to inquire with Xianxia if she could sense the magic aura. Upon Ling Zixiao's questioning, Xianxia indicated that she could not feel the magic aura. "Good, that's fine," Lu Changxing said with a loud laugh. He stopped the effect of the 9 treasures Rui Bone, and his aura fell sharply, leaving him feeling empty. Changxing, Xiaoxia's cold and moon-like beautiful eyes softened a few degrees when she saw Lu Changxing. The next moment, she expressed her surprise. "Changxing, you've just broken through to the middle stage of foundation establishment?" She and Lu Changxing had broken through foundation establishment together. But she had only just reached the 3rd level of foundation establishment not too long ago. Yet Lu Changxing was already at the middle stage, which was very surprising to her. "I had a bit of fortune before," Lu Changxing said with a smile, downplaying it. Xiaoxia didn't say much. After all, compared to all the various mysteries surrounding Lu Changxing, his middle stage cultivation level didn't seem so remarkable. "Since there is no problem, Zixiao, I'm going to release the Tree King. You two should move back a bit," Lu Changxing said to Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia. "Okay." The 2 women nodded and moved back to Changxing Hall, full of anticipation and curiosity about what the demon king contracted by Lu Changxing would look like. Even though they were both well-seasoned and knowledgeable, they had never been up close with such a formidable demon king. Extract. Lu Changxing focused his mental spirit and looked at the Mount Sumeru Tree King in the system. The next moment, boom! A towering ancient tree, dozens of meters tall and remarkably robust, appeared. The ancient tree was entirely like gold and jade, with a brilliant luster flowing all over it. Its roots emanated strands of auspicious air, making it seem extremely sacred. The leaves of the tree crown were very peculiar. Some were dazzling gold, some transparent as jade, and some a rich green, diffusing a rich fragrance and divine light. With a gentle sway, it seemed like the chanting of Buddhist hymns arose, calming the heart and spirit of those who heard it. Chapter 705. The Tree King emerges, inside the cave heaven. He knew the Mount Sumeru Tree King was inquiring about whether he had made the decision to take root and settle down here. Given the current situation of the Mount Sumeru Tree King, it was able to move for short durations. "Let's just do it here. The palace takes up too much space. You can take it directly into the Mount Sumeru space, but be careful not to damage the formation of the mountain." Lu Changxing pondered for a moment before speaking to the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Having extracted the Mount Sumeru Tree King, he now had a detailed understanding of it. third-rank early-stage cultivation level, with a self-contained cave heaven within, nurturing its own expanse of the world. This world could accommodate people, objects, demon beasts, or used for cultivation and more. Moreover, the Mount Sumeru Tree King could proactively bring people or items into the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. This was one of the skills of the Mount Sumeru Tree King. If enemies were encountered, it could suppress and imprison them within the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. After speaking, he pulled Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia to the side. "Yes, master." The ethereal and pure voice rang out, and then a golden divine light descended, shining upon the Changxing Hall. Suddenly, the vast palace disappeared right before the three of them, leaving only an empty space. "My lord, does this revered Tree King possess void divine skills?" Ling Zixiao asked Lu Changxing. "Exactly, its name is Mount Sumeru. It has a world within it, nurturing a corner of the universe. We will be able to live directly within this cave heaven from now on," Lu Changxing said aloud. Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia looked at each other in silence. The shock that Lu Changxing had given them today was simply too great. Previously, they had thought that the Tree King bound by contract with Lu Changxing was just an ordinary third-rank demon king. But now that they had seen the Mount Sumeru Tree King, they realized their thoughts were too simplistic. Also, thinking about it, if Lu Changxing valued it so greatly, and even used formations to conceal it, how could it be just an ordinary third-rank demon king? Nevertheless, Lu Changxing had boldly revealed such a Tree King in front of them, making them feel trusted. After the Mount Sumeru Tree King had taken the Changxing Hall into the Mount Sumeru space, it began to root itself at the top of Baiyun Peak. Crystalline and translucent golden roots, as thick as a barrel, burst forth with vibrant vitality and splendid luster, slowly penetrating into the mountain to draw upon the spiritual mechanism of the spirit vein in Baiyun Peak. After a long while, the Mount Sumeru Tree King had completed rooting. The crystalline radiance flowing on its body gradually retracted, standing on top of Baiyun Peak like a golden towering ancient tree. Mount Sumeru. Lu Changxing with Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia approached the Mount Sumeru Tree King and called out. Swoosh! The next moment, a golden gate of light appeared before them. The three walked into the gate of light, passing through what felt like a layer of water curtain, entering the inner cave heaven of the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Lu Changxing surveyed the landscape within the cave heaven. Looking at its size, it was only a few square miles in area, with mountains, rivers, rocks, and trees, but it resembled a wasteland with only a solitary Changxing Hall. At the heights above the cave heaven and at the ends all around, everything seemed a fuzzy gray, in a state yet to evolve. After all, the Mount Sumeru Tree King was only third rank. Although a world was self-contained within it, this world was still in the nurturing phase. Only with enough strength could it truly evolve into a small world. There was spiritual energy in the air, but it was very sparse, just slightly better than the secular world, not even comparable to a first-grade spirit vein. "It seems some renovation is indeed in order," Lu Changxing said, stroking his chin as he looked at the situation before him. Although it was habitable now, he thought the conditions were somewhat lacking. In the future, this would be his true core base, which of course had to be properly crafted. "Master, please instruct." The voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King sounded, gentle and pure, bringing peace to one's mental spirit. It indicated that it could expend energy to make some improvements to this piece of heaven and earth. Growing some grass and trees around the palace wouldn't take too much energy, right? Lu Changxing asked the Mount Sumeru Tree King. He knew that whatever the Mount Sumeru Tree King wanted to do in the cave heaven would consume spiritual energy, even origin source. "Yes, master." The Mount Sumeru Tree King responded. In an instant, golden specks appeared from all sides, suffusing the area around Changxing Hall with vitality as green grass began to grow. "This looks much more pleasing to the eye," Lu Changxing commented, nodding his head. Then with a slight movement of his mental spirit, he looked at the spiritual eye spring within his system space. Extract. Chapter 706, Companion Spirit Plant, divine wood grate formation. _1A water vat the size of a vase, bubbling forth with spring water, emanating pure spiritual energy, appeared before Lu Changxing. This is the spiritual eye spring? Ling Zixiao exclaimed in shock upon seeing the spiritual eye spring before her. Spiritual eye spring. Xiaoxia's cold and stunningly beautiful face also showed a hint of surprise. Although the spiritual eye spring was not as staggering as a third-rank tree king, it was still a rare treasure, coveted even by nascent soul immortals. After all, possessing a spiritual eye spring was tantamount to having a spirit vein with rich spiritual energy wherever one went. Indeed, it is the spiritual eye spring. The amount of spiritual energy required by Mount Sumeru is significant. If we rely solely on Bai Yun Peak's spirit vein for sustenance, it will be far from sufficient. Therefore, placing this spiritual eye within the cave heaven can greatly alleviate the problem of insufficient spiritual energy. Lu Changxing explained, looking at the spiritual eye spring before him. This was also his first time seeing what a spiritual eye spring looked like. He could distinctly feel that the water from the spiritual eye spring, like spiritual liquid, was crystal clear and resplendent, diffusing strands of pure spiritual energy throughout the heavens and earth. With this spiritual eye spring here, the issue with the Tree King's spiritual energy is indeed greatly relieved. Ling Zixiao said after a moment of silence. She had discussed the problem of the third-rank Tree King with Lu Changxing before. At that time, she was curious about how Lu Changxing would resolve it. She had never imagined that Lu Changxing's solution would be so straightforward and forceful, placing a spiritual eye spring within the cave heaven. So this is the taste of the water from the spiritual eye spring. It's my first time tasting it. Ling Zixiao approached the spiritual eye spring, scooped up some water with her hand, and gently tasted it by her lips. She only felt a surge of pure spiritual energy spreading within her body. Hee hee. Lu Changxing chuckled and also scooped up some water to taste. He found the taste mediocre, nothing particularly delicious. But such water, akin to spiritual liquid, transformed into pure spiritual energy as soon as it entered the stomach. Shiyu, you try some? Lu Changxing said with a smile to Xiaoxia, who was standing aside. Upon hearing this, Xiaoxia stepped forward to lightly taste the spring water and spoke. The taste is average, but the spiritual energy is very pure. Indeed, this effect of the spiritual energy would be excellent for wine brewing, Lu Changxing commented. Then he called out to the Mount Sumeru Tree King, Mount Sumeru. Master, please command me. The voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King echoed throughout the cave heaven. Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia, hearing this voice as melodious as the sound of nature and seeing Mount Sumeru's respectful demeanor towards Lu Changxing, exchanged glances with each other, somewhat at a loss for words. If they hadn't known that this voice came from a third-rank Tree King, they would have thought it was a little maidservant raised by Lu Changxing. Dig a small pit here for me, I shall plant the spiritual eye spring. Lu Changxing instructed aloud. The spiritual eye spring could merge with the earth's veins, transforming into a true spiritual eye to nourish the abode. If one wishes to take it away, one simply needs to dig up the spiritual eye again. Yes, master, the Mount Sumeru Tree King replied. Instantly, a small pit appeared in front of Changxing Hall. Lu Changxing placed the spiritual eye spring into it. Soon, the spiritual eye spring slowly expanded, merging with the small pit, transforming into a small pond a zhang in size, continuously emitting thick and pure spiritual energy. In order to turn this place into a secret abode for daily cultivation, a single spiritual eye spring is not enough. We still need to acquire several more items related to the spiritual eye to create a spiritual vein here and elevate the spirit vein at Bai Yun Peak. Lu Changxing assessed the situation, stroked his chin, and thought to himself. He then inquired about Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia's ideas and suggestions for constructing and modifying this place. Changxing, you could treat this place as a miniature cave heaven for development, such as cultivating spirit fields, medicinal gardens, and raising spiritual beasts here. Xiaoxia expressed some interest as she looked at the scene before her. In her view, this was Lu Changxing's new home, and naturally, she wanted to contribute some ideas for its design. For now, the spiritual energy from Bai Yun Peak and the spiritual eye spring is just enough to supply the cultivation needs of the few of us and Mount Sumer. If we were to cultivate spirit fields and medicinal gardens, we could have at most first-grade soil, Lu Changxing said. He also felt that this place was a perfect base for himself. He could confidently and freely use many core items in this world, such as the Golden Armor Bean Mother, Blackwater Dragon Spirit Weapon. Moreover, it's very convenient to farm and fish in the cave heaven. With the Mount Sumeru Tree King as the lord of this world, as long as the power and nature's spiritual energy were sufficient, it could directly evolve second-grade soil and second-grade fishing grounds. There was no need to cultivate the spirit fields slowly as with other spirit vein lands, nurturing and sorting the earth's veins. Chapter 707. Chapter 707. It grew by evolving its own body domain and, through that body domain, nourished itself in turn to accelerate its growth. Apart from this body domain, it also possessed a divine skill, the Mount Sumeru Mandala Barrier. Once the barrier was activated, it could seal and suppress enemies. If it took action in the outside world, its combat power was at the early stage of the 3rd rank, with an attack range that could cover almost the entirety of Bai Lake Mountain. However, the greater the distance, the greater the consumption for it, and the lesser the power. If within this domain, it would be invincible at the 3rd rank. Even those at the peak of core formation could be sealed and suppressed. Beyond these two innate divine skills, it had another ability. It could cleanse a person's heart, bringing tranquility to their mental spirit, somewhat suppressing the effects of heart demons. This ability also extended to its entire being. For example, cultivating next to the Mount Sumeru Tree King or carrying one of its branches could partially aid in focusing the mind and calming the spirit. Mount Sumeru, can your branches and sprouts be planted and grown? Lu Changsheng's heart thumped at the mention of branches and sprouts, and he asked out loud. He knew that some tree branches, when freshly broken and still full of vitality, could be cultivated and revived by a spiritual plant master. If the branches of the Mount Sumeru Tree King could be planted and nurtured back to life, then he wouldn't have to worry about his wives' and children's future cultivation of the heaven and earth longevity technique. Master, unless a great amount of origin source vitality is consumed, ordinary branches and sprouts cannot rejuvenate. The Mount Sumeru Tree King spoke thus. It indicated that it could enable the branches to be planted and grown, but it would require a significant consumption of its live's origin source for nurturing. This branch had already become an accompanying spirit plant, a part of its life. Consume origin source vitality, accompanying spirit plant. Lu Changxing nodded upon hearing this. He knew that the Mount Sumeru Tree King was capable of doing it, but the cost was too great. He did not ask further. He planned to wait until the Mount Sumeru Tree King's situation improved before considering whether to let it nurture an accompanying spirit plant. Zhixiao, what were you about to say just now? At this moment, Lu Changxing looked at Ling Zhixiao and inquired. My lord, upon seeing the venerable Mount Sumeru, I thought of a great formation. Ling Zhixiao's eyes, deep as autumn waters, were bright and full of spirit as she spoke. A great formation? Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow. Xiaoxia also looked curiously at Ling Zhixiao. Through their time together, she knew Ling Zhixiao to be an array master. Her understanding of formations was extremely profound, almost on par with the Mo Shorin, the master they had invited before. Yes. Ling Zhixiao wore a light smile, her voice crisp as she said, I have a second-tier top-level formation called the Divine Wood Great Formation. It is laid out using living spirit plants, spiritual trees, and demon plants as the foundation and focal points of the formation. Seeing the venerable Mount Sumeru gave me an idea. To use it as the core and the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven as the main with the formation as support, creating a taboo formation comparable to a 3rd rank. A 3rd rank great formation requires a 3rd rank spirit vein to maintain operation, but with the venerable Mount Sumeru present, there's no need for the support of a 3rd rank spirit vein. Once the formation is complete, should danger arise, there's no need for the venerable Mount Sumeru to act, as we could directly activate the formation and pull the enemy into its cave heaven. Once they enter the cave heaven, the venerable Mount Sumeru can directly suppress the enemies without causing any disturbance externally. Ling Zixiao spoke with a bright gaze and vibrant spirit. She was aware that once the Mount Sumeru Tree King took action, it could potentially make a significant commotion. If it was turned into a formation, not only would there be an additional level of concealment, but the level of Bai Lake Mountain's Great Formation would also rise another notch. Moreover, as an array master, she wanted to realize her own ideas and formations. Like the Divine Wood Great Formation, she had only ever laid out a weakened version of the second-rank lower tier. She had never set up a second-tier top-level Divine Wood Great Formation. Now, upon seeing the Mount Sumeru Tree King, she aspired to use such a distinguished third-rank Tree King as the core focus of the Divine Wood Great Formation, and her heart was filled with immense expectation and desire to attempt it. The Divine Wood Great Formation, a third-rank taboo formation? Lu Chengsheng's eyebrows raised upon hearing this. He knew the difference between second-rank formations and third-rank was like heaven and earth. A third-rank Great Formation, known as a taboo formation, was self-contained, without weaknesses or flaws, and not comparable to any second-rank formation. Unexpectedly, Ling Zixiao claimed she could lay out a formation comparable to a third-rank taboo formation. Zixiao, is this Divine Wood Great Formation troublesome, and will setting it up affect Mount Sumeru? Lu Changxing inquired of Ling Zixiao. Extremely troublesome. First, Mount Sumeru must be the core when laying out the Divine Wood Great Formation. Then, through nested formations, overlaying method, it must be connected with the Bai Shui Qing Tian Great Formation of Bai Lake Mountain. If the Great Formation is inactive on normal days, it will continue to appear to others as the current Bai Shui Qing Tian Great Formation. Once the Divine Wood Great Formation is activated, it will transform into the near third-rank Divine Wood Great Formation and catch people off guard. However, the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation and the Oceanic Grand Formation of Bai Shui Lake are currently overlaid and still not perfected. If we now attempt to connect with the Divine Wood Great Formation, some problems will arise during the process, so I am not 100% sure of success. But this Divine Wood Great Formation will not affect the venerable Mount Sumeru. If there is any impact during the process, we can stop at any time. Ling Zixiao said excitedly, her bright, beautiful eyes sparkling with expectation of the challenge. Being able to reach this stage on the formation path, aside from her exceptional talent, arose from her constant pursuit of breakthroughs and self-challenges. On normal days, showing the Bai Shui Tianqing Great Formation to others, and once the Divine Wood Great Formation is activated, it becomes a third-rank Great Formation. Lu Changsheng pondered for a moment before calling out to the Mount Sumeru Tree King, Mount Sumeru. Mount Sumeru will follow Master's arrangements. The voice of Mount Sumeru was still so ethereal and pure, bringing tranquility to one's spirit. Chapter 708. Chapter 708. Good, since that's the case, well, do as you suggest, Zixiao. However, your body has not yet recovered, so don't push yourself. The formation can wait, there's no need to rush. If the setup process involves anything related to Mount Sumeru, you can communicate directly with it. Lu Changsheng spoke to Ling Zixiao. He knew that setting up a great formation was extremely draining on one's mental spirit and energy. Ling Zixiao had just finished setting up the inverted 5 elements formation. Now she was about to set up an even more complex and troublesome Divine Wood Great Formation, which made him worry about her health. However, from the desire he saw in her beautiful eyes, he didn't want to disappoint her. Thank you, my lord. I will take care of myself, said Ling Zixiao, her elegant face breaking into a charming smile. Shiyu, Zixiao, now that we have Mount Sumeru supporting us, I leave the family affairs in your hands. I will be heading to Red Leaf Valley Market to oversee things for a while to prevent any danger to Qingzhou Mountain or the Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Changxing said. Although the specifics of the robber cultivator's incident were still unclear, He planned to stay at the Red Leaf Valley Market for a while in case anything unexpected occurred. "My lord, rest assured." "All right, Xianxia, don't worry." The two women responded upon hearing this. Then, Lu Changxing mentioned his trip to the Red Leaf Valley Market to Lu Miaoyan, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Xinjin. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaohuan expressed a desire to visit Qingzhou Mountain and take a stroll through the Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Changxing did not object and agreed to take her along the next day. After all, the Red Leaf Valley Market was not far from Baishui Lake, and he needed to return periodically to treat Ling Zixiu's condition, especially now that she was setting up a great formation and he needed to pay even closer attention to her health. That night, Lu Changxing treated Ling Zixiu throughout the night, and the next day he took Lu Miaohuan to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Due to the robber cultivators incident, the Red Leaf Valley Market had seen a slight decline in foot traffic. However, the market had been struggling for the last decade. 10 years ago, a hard-won auction held by the four major families boosted name recognition and traffic, but a subsequent robbery by cultivators wiped out all those efforts. And over the past decade, incidents involving the demon path and the family's internal struggles meant the market's reputation suffered, and few loose cultivators visited. After all, when loose cultivators look for a marketplace to settle down, they generally prefer well-established and stable ones. Despite offering many favorable policies to loose cultivators, the Red Leaf Valley Market still lacked competitiveness. Now with some time to spare, upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Changxing took Lu Miaohuan to inspect the family's properties and review the situation. The talisman shops and the fishing stores were currently doing well. The puppet shop had opened a month ago but had little business so far. Lu Changxing knew that such things required time to gain a reputation, so more customers would come as the name and quality became recognized. After all, the Red Leaf Valley Market was only so big, and most loose cultivators belonged to the lower levels of the cultivation world, so asking them to spend 200 spirit stones on a puppet was somewhat difficult. After staying in the Red Leaf Valley for 10 days, Lu Changxing took Lu Miaohuan back to Qingzhou Mountain and then returned to Baishui Lake to treat Ling Zixiu. Ling Zixiu also presented Lu Changxing with a formation diagram to look over. She said she had reorganized and adjusted the formation setup of Baishui Lake during this time. The oceanic bead formation set with 36 oceanic beads in Baishui Lake was no longer linked to the heavenly azure of Baishui Formation. As an auxiliary formation on its own, it nurtures the spirit vein fishes and shrimp in the lake, promoting the rapid advancement of the lake's spirit vein to the second rank. Using the principle that water nourishes wood, the spiritual vein of Baishui Lake was connected to the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Once the great formation was established, it could harness the spiritual energy of the spiritual vein of Baishui Lake to nurture the Mount Sumeru Tree King. What's more, the hazy mist over the waters could further conceal the condition of the Mount Sumeru Tree King. As for the Baishui Tianqing Great Formation and the Divine Wood Great Formation, those remain unchanged. Under normal circumstances, the Great Formation will still be the Baishui Tianqing Great Formation, with the inner core being the Divine Wood Great Formation, both of which can be switched via the Mount Sumeru Tree King. This is something you can handle yourself, Lu Changxing said with a smile. He did not understand formations, but he believed in Ling Zixiu. Besides, if there were any issues with the Divine Wood Great Formation, the Mount Sumeru Tree King would detect and sense them. After treating Ling Zixiu, Lu Changxing spent some time with his wives and children, then returned to Qingzhou Mountain to preside over the Red Leaf Valley Market. Thinking back to when the elder ancestor of the Su family had asked him to craft a mystical frost talisman for Su Ruyan, Lu Changxing thought it had been almost 3 months. He immediately drew 2 mystical frost talismans and had the people from Zheng family at Red Leaf Valley Market notify Su Renguang. Meanwhile, 9 Dragons Market. In a small courtyard. Big brother, all 4 families have kept their doors closed, and even when they go out, they cover their tracks. I think there's no need to delay any longer. We should take care of them soon and avenge our 5th brother. A middle-aged man with a fair face and a soft, sinister look said. Indeed, the 4 families combined have only 5 individuals at foundation establishment, and they're all just straw bag cultivators at the early stage of foundation establishment. Aside from Lu Changxing, who possesses a legacy of talisman formations, the others are not worth mentioning. A bald man with a rough face and a scar on his head said with a vicious laugh. Second brother, I've investigated, and although Wugong Ridging family doesn't have a foundation establishment cultivator, they have invited a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator from Yushui Su family to guard the place. Tao Xiaolan, who was dressed in a peach-colored gown, spoke up. Just a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Moreover, this Su family cultivator may not even wish to get involved in this mess. The bald man scoffed, clearly undervaluing the mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Indeed, there's nothing worth dithering over. I see our 5th brother is also getting impatient these days. Has there been any movement from Qingyun's sect during this time? The red-robed big man sitting at the head of the table asked nonchalantly. Qingyun's sect has no time to worry about such matters. The beast tide has just ended. They must be busy. The fair-faced, dark-browed middle-aged man snorted with disdain. Well then, let's make it 5 days from now. It's a good day for killing, the red-robed man said with a sneer upon hearing this. Thank you, big brother. Fang Ye's eyes lit up with joy as he got up and bowed his thanks. After returning to Qingyun region, the seed of hatred in his heart had quickly sprouted, anxiously wanting to exact revenge. Throughout these days, this seed of hatred had grown into a towering tree, causing images of his parents' tragic deaths to frequently flash across his mind. He knew that for these 10 years, hatred had been the driving force propelling him forward, becoming his obsession, his heart demon. He must use this hatred to unravel the obsessions in his heart. In that case, 5 days from now, I will join our 5th brother in warming them up. Once people from all 4 families gather, big brother and second brother can make their move, allowing our 5th brother to take his revenge joyfully. The slender and shadowy figure in a black robe cackled with laughter. I have obtained a breeding heritage and wish to improve the environment through aquatic dragon-blooded demon beasts to promote the growth of these 2 types of carps. Therefore, as for those beasts, the more, the merrier, and the stronger, the better, Lu Changxing explained nonchalantly. Improve the ecology. Su Renguang nodded slightly at these words without asking any further, and then spoke. Mountain Lord should also know that such beasts are difficult to nurture. As of now, my Su family has green-horned fish with mid-grade inferior bloodlines and ink jade serpents with mid-grade superior bloodlines. Both are aquatic demon beasts with a trace of dragon blood. For instance, when nurtured to 2nd rank, green-horned fish become green-horned dragon fish. Ink jade serpents become ink jade flood serpents. If the Mountain Lord is in need, my Su family can sell 10 of each, green-horned fish and ink jade serpents, Su Renguang said. In the cultivation world, no one liked to owe favors. Therefore, he was also willing to sell a few beasts to Lu Changxing to clear the debt of the talisman favor. Only mid-grade inferior and superior. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing felt somewhat disappointed. But a mid-grade bloodline beast was still acceptable. He bowed and responded, if that's the case, I thank Daoist Su. As for the price of these 2 types of beasts, just sell them to me at the normal rate. Of course, the stronger they are, the better. Lu Changxing's face showed a smile as he spoke. In terms of price, it will be calculated based on the strength of the demon beasts. For example, a first-grade initial phase green-horned fish normally costs 150 spirit stones, a mid-phase one, 420, and a late phase one, 1500. If that's what the Mountain Lord needs, how about all prices at a 60% discount? Su Renguang offered, full of sincerity. In that case, thank you very much, Daoist Su, Lu Changxing said with a bow and a smile. He purchased 10 green-horned fish and 10 ink jade serpents from Su Renguang. They included 1 late phase first grade, 2 mid-phase first grade, and 7 initial phase first grade. As for second-rank demon beasts, the Su family would not sell them to the public. Or rather, the Yushui Su family did not even have many second-rank demon beasts to sell. The spirit stones can wait until after everything is settled. I will arrange for them when I return to the family, Su Renguang said aloud. All right, I'll trouble Daoist Su with that, Lu Changxing replied with a smile. Su Renguang then bade farewell and left. Green-horned fish, ink jade serpent. Lu Changxing murmured to himself, feeling somewhat expectant of the effects these two beasts would have when refined into Dao soldiers. Moreover, buying these beasts at a 60% discount meant that even if the results weren't ideal, he wouldn't stand to lose much. That night, the heavens were as dark as ink. Red Leaf Valley Marketplace was silent. At this time, in a small courtyard with bright lights, 5 men and 1 woman looked out at the night sky, chatting casually in the main hall. Hee, our 5th brother is getting impatient, said the man in the red robe sitting at the head seat, noticing the restless and occasionally fierce-looking Fang Yu, and then he addressed the others. Since that's the case, 3rd brother, 4th brother, Xiaolon, you all go with the 5th brother. Yes, big brother. The few of them nodded in response. 5th brother, I'll take care of the great formation of the Red Leaf Valley Market. You can do as you please with the others, the middle-aged man with a gentle jade-like complexion and a sinister expression offered. Kek, 5th brother, however you want to do it tonight, your 4th brother will follow, the thin, gloomy-looking elder laughed eerily. Chapter 710, Ancient Relic Site, Robber Cultivator Causes Chaos. Brother Yu, Tao Xiaolan, standing beside Fang Yu, said this as she held his hand. Okay, thank you for the trouble, brothers. Fang Yu held his partner's hand, looked towards the old man and the man in red robes among others, took a deep breath, and nodded vigorously. His eyes were then dark as ink, and his brows filled with ferocity. His ability to become brothers with those 4 men was a testament to his extraordinary strength, having once gained a great opportunity. Little 5th is too polite. I, as 3rd brother, will head over first. Once the great formation is activated, you can make your move. The middle-aged man with a jade-like complexion and gentle brows patted Fang Yu on the shoulder. Then, with a folding fan in hand, he flew towards the gate of the Red Leaf Valley Market. 4th brother, Xiaolin, let's start from gathering immortals in. Fang Yu said in a cold voice. 10 years ago, it was from gathering immortals in that he and his parents had begun to plunder the marketplace. Now, he was about to face the events of 10 years prior and relive those moments. However, the difference was, back then, both his parents had lost their lives in the Red Leaf Valley Market. But tonight, he intended to massacre the Red Leaf Valley Market and destroy the 4 great families. After saying this, Fang Yu, Tao Xiaolan, and the old man left. I hope after we've avenged this lad, he'll be willing to bring out the map and the token for the ancient relic site in the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Looking at the departing Fang Yu and others, a burly man with a scarred head drank deeply from a jug. This shouldn't be a problem, Xiao Tao said. Fang Yes, loyalty is almost secured. As long as the great revenge is settled with the bond of brotherhood, he won't forget us few when he explores the ancient relic site. And given the danger of exploring that site alone with his strength, he would certainly require assistance. The man in red robes also took large swigs from his jug. Traveling all across the land, pillaging and plundering, they naturally weren't bound by brotherly affection but rather by shared interests. After all, how much is brotherly love worth? The reason they had traveled far, from Myriad Beasts mountain range and Azure Phoenix Immortal City to the Qingyun region, was to avenge their little brother but with an ulterior motive. The moon was hazy, and all was silent. Boom! Suddenly, a thunderous and earth-shattering noise erupted in the Red Leaf Valley Market. Under the night sky, the second-rank great formation of the marketplace, Heavenly Cloud and Water Formation, was enveloped in spiritual light, alternately bright and dark, as clouds and mist rolled turbulently. 7 deadly wolf smoke gourds. But looking up at the flickering great formation above, he knew there were foundation establishment cultivators hidden in the shadows. He immediately said to Lu Miaoga, Sister Miaoga, that black-robed young man is of second-level foundation establishment. You handle him. Leave that old man to me. 2 foundation establishments? Fang Yu and his companions were surprised and puzzled upon seeing Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge arrive. After all, according to the information he had, there was only one foundation establishment cultivator, Lu Miaoge, presiding over the Red Leaf Valley market. But with the backing of his elder brothers, he wasn't afraid at all, and as malevolence surged between his brows, his hands formed a seal and he shouted, 7 evils wolf smoke, strike. Dash. The terrifying black smoke face in the air that was destroying buildings emitted a ghostly, wolf-like screech, charging at Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge. River of Qi break. In Lu Miaoge's hands appeared a blue crossbow, with water-like ripples flowing through it. Channeling mana, she fired, swoosh, 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 towards the ferocious wolf smoke in the air. Strike. Lu Changxing also did not hesitate, summoning a low-grade spiritual sword. The spiritual sword let out a clear ring, releasing a sharp sword rainbow that sliced through the air, heading straight towards the thin old man. Chapter 7:11. With Lu Mountain Lord here, tonight will be settled. Under Sting, Lu Miaoge's river arrow crossbow flashed wildly in her hand, surging with azure brilliance, piercing and scattering the black smoky faces in the night sky. But the black smoke was extremely dense. As soon as it dispersed, it reconverged and continued to attack Lu Miaoge. Ice Seal Talisman. Seeing this scene, Lu Miaoge's expression tightened, knowing the river arrow crossbow alone couldn't defeat the opponent. She took out a second-rank Ice Seal Talisman, and immediately, a chill engulfed the area, sweeping towards the black smoky face in an attempt to freeze it solid. Facing the Ice Seal Talisman, the black smoky face developed patches of frost, appearing sluggish and stiff. Water Dragon Technique, True Water into Dragon. Seeing this, Lu Miaoge immediately formed hand seals and cast an advanced-level spell from the Water of Virtue technique. Mana from within her body and the surrounding spiritual energy converged and flowed, causing a mist of water to swirl above her head, gradually forming into a lifelike, vivid miniature water dragon. Xian, move back. On the other side, the gaunt old man faced the flying sword sent by Lu Changxing, his voice hoarse and piercing. Amid his words, 2 black chains shot out from the sleeves with the liveliness of black snakes hissing with their tongues. Whoosh, whoosh. The 2 black chains, like giant pythons, intertwined around the flying sword, attempting to strangle it. Clang! The black chains collided with the flying sword, emitting a sound of metal striking metal. Immediately after, the chains wrapped tightly around the flying sword like dark spirit snakes, producing a sharp and grating crack noise. Somewhat capable. Lu Changxing chuckled lightly, recognizing that the gaunt old man was no slouch. He slapped his spiritual beast pouch and released his 6-winged golden silkworm. Now that the 6-winged golden silkworm had advanced to the 2nd rank, he wanted to see the specific combat power of this spiritual insect. After all, if he could resolve the battle this easily, he would expose too much of his own strength, especially the various techniques of a sword cultivator. Back when he made his move in the Red Leaf Valley market, he used the techniques of the 7 luminary sword scripture to kill 2 robber cultivators. If he were to use the shimmering shadow condensation sword techniques now, he would undoubtedly be recognized as the sword cultivator from back then, which would cause trouble. Whoosh! No sooner had the 6-winged golden silkworm appeared than its wings flapped, turning into a bloodthirsty, brilliant golden light that fiercely shot toward the gaunt old man. What is this? Facing the golden light, the gaunt old man's eyes narrowed slightly, a sense of foreboding rising in his heart. Not only is Lu Changxing's strength astonishing, he also has a 2nd-rank spiritual pet. The inheritance he acquired is definitely not just about the talisman path. That lasts too. Fang Yu, wielding the 7-kill wolf smoke gourd, could match a foundation establishment middle-stage cultivator, but now he can't even beat this little girl. The bald man rubbed the scar on his head and spoke. Their combat power is indeed not simple. If you said they were disciples of the immortal sects, I'd believe it. They don't at all look like the trash foundation establishment from a minor family. The man in the red robe said. As he spoke, a jade talisman in his hand flickered on and off. Oh, they're already calling for help. The man in the red robe sneered. Since Fang Yu doesn't want to play anymore, then let's take action. These two must have encountered great fortune. If we capture them, our trip here will also yield a great harvest. Fang Yu really has quite the fortune and luck. The bald man sneered, initially getting an inheritance from a nascent soul Immortals cave, and now we come here and stumble upon such a great opportunity. Haha, indeed, the kid is truly a lucky star. The two laughed heartily and then soared into the sky, turning into streaks of light flying towards the marketplace. As is, this Lu family ancestor of Qingzhou Mountain is pretty formidable. I heard she only broke through foundation establishment a few years ago, yet she already has such combat power. Not just her, the Bai Lake Mountain Master also broke through foundation establishment just a few years ago. I heard before that Bai Lake Mountain Master relied on a talisman formation to kill 3 foundation establishment cultivators. I thought his combat power depended entirely on talismans, didn't expect his spell fighting ability to be so extraordinary too. Exactly, with Mountain Master Lu here, we're set for tonight. In the marketplace, many people watched the battle situation on the main street from a distance. They didn't dare to approach but could still see the general state of affairs. Seeing Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge clearly having the advantage put their minds at ease. Wait, what's the situation? Why are there 2 more foundation-building great cultivators? Just then, someone suddenly noticed 2 streaks of light appearing, flying towards the main street. Those 2 wouldn't happen to be robber cultivators too, would they? Most likely. Does that mean this group of robbers has 4 foundation-building great cultivators? No, there are also robber cultivators interfering with the marketplace's great formation. This. No wonder they dared to make a direct move on the marketplace. It's all over. I hope Mountain Master Lu can still set up a talisman formation and suppress the robbers. Many cultivators saw 2 escape lights hurtling towards the bustling marketplace, their hearts suddenly sinking. Indeed, this presence is clearly a level stronger than what we just witnessed. Many cultivators who were spectating trembled with fear, extremely shocked by the scene. Body cultivation. Lu Changxing retreated several steps, putting distance between himself and the crimson-robed man, eyeing him intently. Having been in the cultivation world for so long, he had encountered body cultivators before. But never had he met a body cultivator with the strength of the crimson-robed man. That sudden mighty punch, had it been any regular foundation establishment cultivator on the receiving end, they would likely have been severely injured if not killed. So you are also a body cultivator? The crimson-robed man also stepped back, dissipating the force, his face serious as he regarded Lu Changxing. He hadn't expected Lu Changxing to be a body cultivator as well. Being a body cultivator himself, he was acutely aware of the difficulty of pursuing magical dual cultivation. Not only did it consume vast amounts of time and effort, but the resources needed were also several times that of an ordinary cultivator. Particularly Lu Changxing's physical condition, which was almost as robust as his own, filled him with immense shock. After all, he had heard of Lu Changxing's general situation and knew that the latter had only recently made a breakthrough in foundation establishment and had been practicing cultivation for just a few decades. To have a physique at the pinnacle of foundation establishment under such circumstances was nothing short of astonishing. Such a physique, unless one had an extraordinary talent or great fortune, would typically require at least a century to achieve. You young lad really know how to keep a low profile, looks like your luck is truly heaven-sent. The crimson-robed man's face turned fierce with twitching muscles, not daring to underestimate Lu Changxing in the slightest. He had traveled far and wide, seen many geniuses and talents, knowing that one careless move could lead to total defeat. As he spoke, his muscles bulged and his skin turned a dark red, resembling a volcano on the verge of erupting, as writhing heat waves distorted the space around him. Then a red dragon-patterned long saber appeared in his hand. The hilt had a crimson bead, inside which a small dragon seemed to be roaring. Accompanying the dragon's cry, the blade's dragon patterns came to life, unleashing astonishing spiritual light. Roar, roar, roar! The long saber's crimson flames billowed like a fire dragon lunging at Lu Changxing with bared fangs and claws. Go! Just then, Lu Mai's talisman treasure activated, turning into a bronze spear that exuded an air of martial valor. It whistled through the air, suddenly striking towards the crimson-robed man. Wind-fire formation. Lu Changxing also made hand signs to activate the talismans placed at the cardinal points of heaven and earth, forming a talisman formation to subdue the crimson-robed man. Lu Changxing watched the man in the red robe charging towards him, then glanced at Lu Miaoge, his expression becoming fierce. He had no intention of dragging out the battle and prepared for a quick and decisive conclusion. 9 treasures Rui Bone, 9 colored tribulation light. With a thunderous sound, it was as though a volcano had erupted or a river had broken its banks within his chest, much like the thunderous roar that resonated with a grand and mysterious aura. From afar, Lu Changxing appeared like a deity, his mana surging around him, instilling dread in those who watched. The bald man and Lu Miaoge beside couldn't help but glance at Lu Changxing, unsure of what was happening. The next moment, a tsunami of resplendent 9-colored divine light burst forth from Lu Changxing's chest, surging and endless. Within the tribulation light, runic symbols undulated like wriggling tadpoles, exuding an aura that could suppress and destroy all forms of magic. What kind of technique is this? The man in the red robe could not recognize the divine skills and felt an ominous palpitation from Lu Changxing's immeasurably powerful technique. Not daring to be the slightest bit negligent, he pushed his red sun fire dragon cover to its limits, the spiritual light flashing wildly and the aura of fire churning, with a fierce and impressive fire dragon coiling atop the shield. Boom! As the 9-colored tribulation light descended, the dozens of yards-long flame dragons that the man in the red robe had slashed out instantly disintegrated into ashes. Immediately after, the fire dragon coiled around his protective shield let out a mournful cry, dissipating visibly to the naked eye. How is this possible? The man in the red robe's eyes revealed disbelief as he quickly exerted his full strength to drive the red sun fire dragon cover. Countless red spiritual blossoms burst forth, transforming into a series of fire dragons. But no sooner had a fire dragon appeared than it was scattered by the 9-colored light, turned to ash. In merely an instant, the man in the red robe felt his mana being rapidly drained, struggling to maintain his efforts, his face turning pale, his breath ragged. Meanwhile, Lu Changxing stood with an indifferent expression, like a deity presiding over life and death, showing no signs of excessive strain. Humming. The red sun fire dragon cover hovering above his head buzzed continuously, cracks appearing on its surface. How is this possible? How can he, at the initial stage of foundation establishment, have such mana, to wield such a technique? The man in the red robe's face contorted in pain, blood oozing from his 7 orifices, unable to utter a word. If it weren't for the mismatch in Lu Changxing's mana aura, showing no sign of core formation, he would have believed that the man before him was a false core immortal. He had once encountered a false core immortal whose attacks were nowhere near as domineering. The next moment, Fellow Daoist, this opportunity is an ancient relic site, containing top-tier inheritance, the chance for core formation, even nascent soul opportunities. The bald giant's expression grew uglier as he continued to shout loudly. In the midst of his words, he slapped his storage bag, sacrificing a golden great bell. The bell was dazzling with golden light, resplendent and eye-catching, giving off an indomitable sense of heaviness, enveloping him completely. Nonetheless, he still used his golden prayer beads to smash down on the 9 mysteries' true seals, attempting to break the talisman formation's lockdown. 9 mysteries' true seals kill. Lu Changxing was still unmoved. The opportunity for core formation and the top-tier inheritance held no appeal for him. In his system space, he still had a coagulation crystal elixir. As for the chance for a nascent soul, he believed that once he formed his core, he wouldn't need to worry. Phew. 7,200 true seals closed off heaven and earth, stabilizing the talisman array, while 3,609 mysteries true seals entered the Great Formation, continually assailing the bald giant. Boom boom boom, ting ting ting, gales swept through, fierce fires surged, thunder rolled, and accompanied by the pitch-black 9 mysteries true seals, they continued to blast against the golden great bell, ringing out with a constant metallic clang. Sister Miaoga, there are robber cultivators outside preparing to flee. You immediately use the Great Formation to stop them, it'll be right there. Just then, Lu Changxing noticed the commotion at the marketplace's Great Formation diminishing. He knew that the Foundation establishment robber cultivators interfering with the Great Formation sensed something was amiss here and were preparing to flee. Facing such robber cultivators, he naturally aimed to eradicate them utterly, not allowing anyone to escape and become a future threat. Lu Miaoga had talisman treasures, 3rd-rank talismans at her side, and as long as she didn't encounter Foundation establishment cultivators of the caliber of the red-robed giant or the current bald giant, it was generally not an issue. Moreover, Lu Miaoga was in control of the marketplace's Great Formation. Although she couldn't operate the Great Formation's full power like Ling Zixiao, she could still enhance her own strength. All right, Changxing, be careful. Lu Miaoga, upon hearing this, did not hesitate, withdrew her bronze spear, transformed into escape light, and flew towards the spot where the formation was broken earlier. Lu Changxing nodded slightly, continuing to watch the bald giant within the talisman formation. At this point, the opponent was like a fish in a jar. Boom boom boom. Under the barrage of talisman and the assault of the 9 mysteries true seals, the golden great bell dimmed, cracks began to appear, no longer self-repairing. Surprisingly, though, this golden great bell actually had the ability to self-repair. The cracks that appeared on it were visibly mending at a rate perceptible to the naked eye. Phew. Seeing this, Lu Changxing fired off another 18-second rank talismans. With the addition of these 18-second rank talismans, the power of the entire talisman formation immediately increased, linked with the 9 mysteries true seals, totally fierce and turbulent. Damn it, how does he have so many talismans? Watching Lu Changxing with so many talismans, the bald giant's face grew uglier and uglier. Although the golden great bell had self-repair ability, it was dependent on his own mana. Under such relentless bombardment, his mana couldn't keep up at all. Fellow Daoist, as long as you are willing to spare my life, I am willing to submit and serve you. The bald giant continued to shout out. Although he was a Foundation establishment great cultivator, having survived in the cultivation world for so long, he knew when to be tough and when to bend. However, Lu Changxing was still unmoved. While he didn't mind taking on followers, he looked at the person and the situation. Boom boom boom. Under the onslaught of the talisman formation, the golden great bell finally began to lose its luster, the cracks no longer healed. Chapter 717. The Might of the 9-Colored Tribulation Lightning, Dual Cultivation Technique. Explode. Witnessing this scene, Lu Changxing didn't waste any more time. He formed hand seals and uttered an indifferent syllable, detonating the talisman formation. As the syllable dropped, in an instant, all the talisman's energies fused together, unleashing an extremely violent mana fluctuation. Boom! Subsequently, an earth-shattering explosion roared into being. It brightened the night sky in that moment, making the entire marketplace seem to shake and shimmer, a mushroom cloud rising into the air. Such terrifying power. Is this the might of a foundation-building great cultivator? This power is simply too frightening. Everyone in the market heard the intense explosion and felt a jolt in their hearts. Lu Changxing watched the fierce and wild mana waves before him, smoothed his sleeves, and dispersed them. Through his divine sense, he could tell that the bald man's presence had been extinguished. The golden great bell that survived the explosion was now a dim, shattered remnant, which made Lu Changxing feel a twinge of regret. From the fight just now, he could tell that the golden great bell was an extremely fine spiritual artifact. What a pity it was now broken beyond repair, reduced to scrap. As for the bald man, he had been reduced to a charred and broken corpse. The face still intact, wore a horrific expression of dying with grievances unappeased. The abilities and resources of these two should provide a good haul, right? Lu Changxing glanced over at the red-robed man who, under the gnawing of the six-winged golden silkworm, had also ceased to breathe, contemplating in his heart. "Eat later," Lu Changxing said to the six-winged golden silkworm. Then with a sweep of his hand he gathered the magic artifacts, spiritual artifacts, and storage bags of the deceased into his possession. After doing so, he sensed the battle energy from Lu Miage's direction, turned into a streak of light, and shot forth suddenly. At this very moment, by the eastern gate of Red Leaf Valley Market. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Miaoge was engaging in fierce combat with a middle-aged man with a face pale as jade and sinister brows, using her water dragon technique. This middle-aged man, clearly disinclined to fight, defended continuously. He manipulated several array flags to leverage the Red Leaf Valley Market's great formation, trying to break a gap to escape through. So soon? The sinister man's expression changed, turning ugly. He hadn't expected his brothers to be dealt with by Lu Changxing so quickly. He had thought tonight's mission would be a casual affair and hadn't prepared much, such as breaking a gap in the great formation in advance, ready for an escape. If anyone has any information, please report it to our enforcement team, and you will be rewarded by the marketplace. Lu Changxing took the array plate from Lu Miage's hand, injected his mana, and used the formation to spread his voice throughout the entire marketplace. After speaking, Lu Changxing continued, "Enforcement team, come to see me immediately." All suppressed? There were 5 foundation establishment cultivators just now. Lu Mountain Lord is mighty, Lu Ancestor is mighty. Are the Mountain Master of By Lake Mountain and his wife really just a few years into their foundation establishment? Their strength is astonishing. This is definitely not the strength of someone who has just achieved foundation establishment. That's right, I've never heard of 2 early-stage foundation establishment cultivators being able to slay 5 foundation establishment cultivators. That talisman formation and that 9-colored aurora were simply too amazing. Hearing Lu Changxing's words, the cultivators in the market began to buzz with conversation. For them, tonight was a sleepless night. Although most could only watch the overall battle from afar, such a display of magical combat had a profound impact on them. We pay respect to the ancestor. We pay respect to the ancestor. We pay respect to the ancestor. Before long, the law enforcement cultivators of the marketplace arrived. Most of these cultivators were from the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain and the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake. Only a few were from the Wugong Ridge Sheng family and some were recruited loose cultivators. Seeing Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge, they were all extremely respectful. Especially the Lu family cultivators of Qingzhou Mountain, looking at Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge, felt as if they were dreaming. After all, having an ancestor with such combat power and making such a show of force was a cause for immense joy among them. Send someone to clean up and rebuild the commercial street, take stock of all the damaged shops and buildings, and calculate the losses. Then search every part of the marketplace to see if there are any traces of robber cultivators left and determine when these 5 robbers arrived. Lu Changxing commanded the enforcement cultivators with a calm yet distant voice, but for those hearing it, it carried an undeniable authority. As you command. As you command. As you command. The law enforcement cultivators responded in unison, bowing respectfully. As they left, Lu Changxing looked toward Lu Miaoge and spoke telepathically. Sister Miaoge, regarding tonight's events, we will later say to others that the cultivation technique we practice is a dual cultivation technique. As long as we are together, we can temporarily raise our cultivation level to the middle stage of foundation establishment, and when we join forces, we can even unleash the combat power of the late foundation establishment stage.